Good evening, wonderful people, ladies and gentlemen, people from all over. Karibuni sana kwa hii show. Welcome to this one more fantastic conversation we are about to have. Karibu sana. This is Africa 24. As usual, I'm your host, Jakes, the moderator. We have another great one, better than the other ones, of course. Every day we aspire to give you something better than the previous one. Asante sana kwa tuning in to Africa 24. Thank you for making this your number one channel for such content. Thank you, Asana. Thank you very much. Asante sana wa Kenya. Asante kwa kuwa part of this show. Asante sana kwa kuwa part of these awesome conversations that we normally have. Inapotimia hii masaa, muda na wakati umefika, na saa ndo hizi na show yako nayo ndio hii ishaanza. Karibu sana wewe mpenzi mtazamaji wa Kenya popote mlipo, karibuni sana. Show yenyu kali, show fiti, mmekuja kupenda, ndo hii ishaanza. Karibu sana. Si unijuze tu unanitazama ukiwa wapi hapo kwa comment section. I'm about to tell you a lot happening in our country even as we near wrapping up this year 2023. Okay, hii mwaka imebakisha tu masaa machache, siku kama moja ama mbili hivi, na masaa machache sana, less than 48 hours we will be summarizing this year and ushering in the year 2024. Wow, it has been an year and a half. Hii ndio ilikuwa mwaka wa maandamano, hii ndio ilikuwa mwaka wa vitu kibao. Taxes zilipanda sana hii mwaka, hii mwaka VAT iliongezwa, hii mwaka NHIF ambayo sasa ni SHIF vitaanza ndimi. Mambo kama haya yalibadilishwa, mambo ya health, vitu zote zilibadilishwa hii mwaka. A lot happened this year, different from the previous years and the norms that Kenyans were used to. All right, so I'll be telling you more about what has been happening in our country, and above all, why the topic, why the heading, and why this show tonight. Okay, but zaidi ya yote, karibu sana kwa hii show. Let us have a decent, fantastic conversation, even as we discuss so many challenges affecting our country. But despite all that, Kenyans still seems not to have changed their mind. All right. Despite all this, Kenya seems not to have changed their mind. Ni kana kwamba hawajasukumwa ya kutosha, I'll be showing you why that I'm saying so. That despite the challenges, despite the heavy taxes and heavy levies charged upon Kenyans, many still are yet to change their mind. Many still support the government. Many still see and feel that William Ruto is the man to beat come 2027. Of course, it's too early to draw such conclusions, but I think the calls by many like Jimmy and Jiggy to have a revolution, I don't think it might work from where I sit. Maybe it might from where you sit, but from where I do, I think Kenyans are yet to really feel it to the level of wishing for for a difference or asking for a change. Okay, but that's my opinion, and that's why we have this show, so that you as well can give us your opinion as well. What you feel, are Kenyans pushed to the wall? Are they comfortable despite all this? Are they still comfortable? Because if kitu kinakufinya kwa kiatu, the best thing that you normally do is to remove it and take away that thing that is making you uncomfortable. Yeah, but if you can live with that thing that is disturbing you on your foot together while on your shoe, then I think you're okay. All right. Now, this show is for you. This show has been made possible because of Africa 24. Here we ask you to subscribe and make this your number one channel for such content. So consider subscribing and joining the ever-growing family of Africa 24. This is your number one local channel for us, such content that come to you every night from 10 p.m. And of course, we have other programs that come during the day. So karibu sana kwa hii show. Let me know where you're watching me from. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Juza wawili watatu kwa kushare, kwa kulike na kwa kusubscribe to Africa 24. Nina vitu kibao nitawajuza. Zaidi nitawachezea what has been the year 2023. So you want to stick around for that one to find out how the year has been 2023. All right, 2023. Where So even as we mark the end of that year, or this year rather, we have a lot that has happened. I'll be showing you through some clips and trying to explain to us what has transpired in 2023, even as we usher in the blessed 2024. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there is this one contentious thing that has been for the last couple of weeks, the housing levy. Of course, this is a matter that has gone to court. This is a matter that Okiya Mtata and others have chosen to really pursue. Of course, Okiya Mtata as well also pursued the financial bill 2023. All right. Now, that issue alone has stirred up Kenyans in different directions. Others feel that we are overburdened, we are overtaxed, we are overlevied, and all. But others feel, hey, the government is on the right trajectory. The government needs to be supported. Most of these programs that the government has launched is for the benefit of you, Mwananchi. And of course, if that is said, they feel that some people are out there to dismantle and bring down William Ruto. So what have they done? They have gone to the streets. They have begun protest. Okay, they have begun protest. Despite us complaining, despite you complaining, despite other Kenyans complaining, there are Kenyans who feel all right. Despite all this, we are okay. Okay, we need all these taxes. We need all these challenges. We need all these levies. Okay, so we are asking ourselves, despite all this, do we really learn? Because let me take you back, Kidogo. One moment we said that Raila Odinga should park and leave, or rather go to Bondo. In fact, I remember during the general election, or just before, we would say that we have now a wheelbarrow ready and prepared to transport him there. Fast forward, after whatever happened in the 2022 election, people were here asking for Raila Odinga to come out and help them demonstrate because of the high cost of living, because of the taxes, because of the levies that were about to be charged, because of the financial bill and many other challenges. You remember, ladies and gentlemen. But days later, as we went on, is that people began to became cold. Maandamano ikaisha the peak, maandamano ikaisha the gusto and the zeal ambayo ilikuwa imeanza nayo, so watu wakaretrieve back. So what happened later on, days later, now we are seeing another form of maandamano, another form of funny protest coming about. And despite Okiya Mtata and the likes going to court, there are Kenyans now taking to the streets. I'll be showing you some people in this clip that you're about to watch, and how I feel that some of these things could have been stage managed, but despite them not, or them being stage managed or not, probably it could have been sponsored. That's my take. That's my thinking. Or if it's not sponsored, Kenyans, do we truly learn, or we say this but we act differently? Yeah, and that's how probably we are even saying, could it be possible in 2027 we might still bring back one William Ruto? Despite all this, we might vote him back because probably Kenyans, we don't learn. Okay, si mimi nimesema, lakini look at this.
Nairobi's Central Business District in support of the government's affordable housing project. The protesters, who say they are direct beneficiaries of the project, have faulted the courts for declaring the levy unconstitutional, saying that it amounts to denying them employment opportunities. As Mary Mwoki reports, the demos come at a day after the Court of Appeal certified as urgent Senator Okiya Mtata's application to vacate stay orders issued by the High Court when it declared the Housing Fund and sections of the Finance Act 2023 unconstitutional.
Waving placards in support of the 1.5% tax on gross salary, commonly known as the housing levy, and the affordable housing project, a group of youth drawn from the slums and a number of artisans snaked their way along major streets in Nairobi's Central Business District in a protest directed at the court's injunctions against the affordable housing project. The group has accused Busia Senator Okiya Omtatah of going out of his way to deny them an opportunity to eke out a living.
The masons, the carpenters have been constructing houses, and later on they retire in their homes without having home ownership. These affordable housing will address the home ownership situation for the Juakali people.
Tumechoka kwa slum, tumechoka kuchomekewa, tumechoka kubebwa na mafuriko. Sasa hii tumepata opportunity yenye tunaweza pata nyumba yetu na yenye tunajengewa kwa bei nafuu. Vijana hatuna job. Hiyo ndio mboka yenye napigwa pale yenye nasaidia vijana.
Our message was very little to the court, but tuhurumie because hawa mafundi wote mnaniona nao hapa wataenda wapi? Lakini tunamuomba atuangalie asije akatuangusha, watu wote watalala na njaa.
The demonstrations come a day after the Court of Appeal certified as urgent Okiya Omtatah's application to vacate stay orders issued under the Finance Act 2023. In the petition, the Busia senator is challenging the orders issued on November 28th by a 3-judge High Court bench, in which he argues that the judges made an error by declaring the housing levy unconstitutional and in the same breath issuing stay orders on the same. The demonstrators have defended the housing levy, saying that they too have a constitutional right to decent and affordable housing.
Tuko na shida ya housing na ukiangalia kila siku nyumba zinaendelea, slums zinaendelea kuongezeka, na ni haki ya kikatiba ya kila mtu kuwa na nyumba decent house. Tunaunga mkono hii housing levy ndio tuweze kujenga nyumba mingi, kwa sababu ukiangalia watu wa chini hawezi afford mortgage.
Wamutata na ngurubu yake angalie hao watoto wote wamesaliwa kama yeye. Hawana kazi. Hao wote tuliwatoa waache kuwa waisi huko kama Madhare wapi. Sasa anataka waruti wapi? Kazi kisha.
The affordable housing project, a flagship of the Kenya Kwanza administration, continues to run into legal headwinds and has been the subject of court battles since inception. The High Court in Kisumu last week issued orders stopping the planned public participation on the Affordable Housing Bill 2023. On Wednesday, High Court Judge Jacqueline Kamau declined to vacate the orders and directed the parties to make submissions for hearing on January 17th, 2024. The decision throws a spanner into the efforts of the government to salvage the housing levy before the stay orders come into effect on the 10th of January. Mary.
All right. Now, that part, of course, this happened yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, where protesters took to the streets, complaining or rather asking the senator for Vihiga, I don't know where, Busia, yes, Busia Senator Okiya Omtatah, not to proceed with his quest to have the housing levy scrapped by the courts. Of course, he has won round one where this was declared unconstitutional. Now, this matter now has proceeded to the Court of Appeal, where, of course, like I think today, the court in Vihiga stopped the public participation. Of course, this is another order that has also come on that, that has been issued on public participation. The government chose to do public participation just to perfect that law and have it in parliament very soon so that it can meet the deadline yenye walikuwa wamepewa na High Court by 15th of January, that that levy be good and it can now probably go on. And in any case, that was the time walikuwa wameambiwa by that time, maybe if everything is not in order, that housing levy ita stop. Okay. Now, huku nje tukidhani kila mtu ana complain, huku nje tukidhani everyone is against this bill. Not everyone is against this bill. Not everyone seemingly is against the government. Some are still saying, you know what, e-bill ni fiti, e-bill tatusaidia tujenge manyumba, e-bill imetupa makazi. Of course, I'll be showing you the funny parts of this video, because one, I don't know if you noticed, most of the wheelbarrows there are brand new. Okay, these people have printed placards. These people, some of them were seen in the Hustler Fund lounge You remember that Fundi who spoke during Hustler Fund? He's there in that demonstration. Now, my question could be, is this state-sponsored demonstration? These people are picketing. Could they have been funded by the government? I might not have really concrete proof on that, but ladies and gentlemen, that is some of the things that we are asking ourselves tonight. Yeah, that despite all this, Kenyans still take to the streets to oppose or support. To oppose or support, and eventually this will be reflected in 2027. Somehow we might end up having a president the president being re-elected because of because of all this, because of maybe others will say he's doing well, he's doing a good job, wacha tumpe tano fresh. Well, but even as that happened, there is another huge percentage of Kenyans that seems to believe that the country is going in the wrong direction. Many still feel that there is a lot that is going wrong in this country. Okay, now listen to this poll finding by TIFA and other institutions that have ranked the president performing badly. But despite all that, Kenyans hawajasukumwa ya kutosha. Listen to this.
Close, the high cost of living and a deteriorating economy have been cited by Kenyans as a key issue of grave concern. Opinion polls released by TIFA and InfoTrack on Friday show Kenyans are worried about the cost of living, with 87% interviewed by TIFA saying there has been massive economic deterioration in the country under the Kenya Kwanza administration. 62% of Kenyans polled by InfoTrack feel the country is headed in the wrong direction. And as Mary Mwoki reports, the government has received a D grade from those polled, with Kenyans terming 2023 worse than 2022.
For 12 months running, the high cost of living has been a major concern for Kenyans across the country. The latest ranking by TIFA and InfoTrack pollsters shows 87% of Kenyans interviewed by TIFA said there has been a massive economic deterioration in the country under the Kenya Kwanza administration. The sharp increase in prices of basic food commodities and fuel viewed as the key drivers of the ranking. A majority of the respondents polled by InfoTrack say the country is headed in the wrong direction. Compared to results from a similar period last year, the number of Kenyans who feel the country is headed the wrong way increased by 7%, from 55% in the same period to 62%. The TIFA poll also sought to gauge the general perception of Kenyans, with particular focus on contentedness. All regions expressed discontent, including the President's Rift Valley backyard at 60%. Nyanza and Nairobi lead with discontent levels, with the former registering 76% as compared with the latter's 74% levels. In the central region, 63% said that this year was worse compared to 2022. 60% of northeastern residents, 67% in western, as well as the coast region said that the year was worse.
The supreme issue has been the cost of living, the high cost of living that has really developed the country over the period. The high cost of living and unemployment, coupled with poverty and increase in taxation. I think since the regime came in power, there's been a lot of issues to do with taxation or introduction of new taxes. Of course, all the 8 regions are feeling the heat.
The InfoTrack survey also ranked the Kenya Kwanza government's performance in the year 2023, and the president and his deputy were rated at a mean score of D at 47% and E at 36% respectively. The cabinet scored 43%, while the National Assembly and the Senate also scored a mean grade of 43% and 42% respectively. Many of the respondents feel the opposition has let the country down and ranked them a mean grade of 48%.
And if you look,
the research released by InfoTrack paints a picture of gloom for many Kenyans, with only 30% of those surveyed expressing optimism that next year holds better tidings for them. 19% say the new year will largely be the same as this one, while 21% were pessimistic that things will be worse.
Of course, the economy still supreme at 84%, that the economy will be worse. Then their businesses will suffer. There are those who believe their finances or their wallets will shrink further. I don't think I'll be able to find a job. That's a sad statement, by 8%. A lot of companies are declaring redundancy, and there are those that are also even pulling out of our country for one reason or the other.
Mary Mwoki, Citizen TV.
All right. Now, those numbers are interesting. Those numbers are quite interesting. Of course, we'll be looking deeper into those figures and what they mean. Now, despite all this, the president performed better than parliament, but performed better than the Senate, performed better than many people. Despite him not getting up to the 50 mark, he scored a 47%. Yeah, despite all this, kuna Kenyans too wanna feel that the president is not doing bad. 47%. Many may say is a low number, but it is only 3 points closer to 50%. So, despite all this, Kenyans still believe the president is not doing a bad job, as much as they are complaining. Ukwinje, 47% still have hope. Still have hope. In any case, others are even predicting, are hoping 33% is saying 2024 will be a good year. I know it's always good to be optimistic and hopeful, and many believe Kenya will be a good place in 2024. All right. Now, we Kenyans, we have been here before. We have been here before. That's why we have this show tonight. We are asking you, do we truly learn? Do we truly learn, or we just fall for gimmicks, innuendos, and sarakasi hapakule? Right? Do we fall for them and we end up doing the same mistakes year in, year out, and even when it comes to the general election, we'll still repeat the mistakes and even still bring back this regime or bring back the same people? Bring back your MP despite you not liking his performance. You will bring back your MCA despite him not performing his duties diligently. You'll bring back your governor because you're not feeling him right now. But then, bado tu utamsahau all that you have gone through this year and last year. You'll forget all that and still bring them back. We have seen it before, and I can assure you we will see it again. Not that I'm a spoiler, but that is what seems to be the blind spot in Kenya, that we fail to see the challenges. We ignore we ignore the challenges. Now, from that report as well, you found out that they equally feel that the opposition has been a letdown. Okay. This was the year that Mandamano took center stage, and we really hoped that while we were protesting, our cries and aspirations will be heard. That didn't happen. We really yearned to have a difference in Kenya. Of course, joining me now on stage is none other than Mr. G. And he will try to help me look at some of those some of what has been said in that opinion poll, and equally I hope to get some of his reaction concerning that demonstration that took place from Kenyans asking for the housing levy, asking that the courts should not squash it away. All right. Okay, so join us even as we discuss all this and have a very awesome conversation. Mr. G, how are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Hope you had a good day.
Yeah, I had a good day.
Uh-huh.
And we're doing well.
Oh, fantastic. Now let me ask you, sir. Do you believe that Kenyans learn in that we have all these leaders, not that we have any new. Most of them have been in office for several decades, and somehow they still make it to their offices by being re-elected and all. And but after re-election or after electing them, Kenyans will be on the streets. They'll take to social media, complain. Like now we have been complaining about taxes, complaining about this government, complaining through and through. But do we truly learn?
Okay, before I answer your question, Mr. Jakes, I just want to ask you a question. If you can just remember, let's go back to 2002. That is the time that we voted in Mr. Kibaki. Okay, by the time we voted in Mr. Kibaki, did you see anyone on the street? Just those, let us say around 1 year or 6 months or 8 months or 7 months. Did you see anyone on the street? Okay, it was a question to you before I answer. You did it because we voted somebody that we voted someone that we wanted. You see, these are the guys ambao nataka kutuambia sahi. You know, Jex, yesterday ulitufinya sana, and there's something that Alex told you that we need to be realistic. It's a issue we are Azimio, we are ODM, mama we are Azimio or we are UDA. This team ambao iko sahi, most of them rigged the election. Yeah, they rigged the election.
Fantastic. All right.
Okay, kuna echo, so sijui echo inatoka wapi. Kuna echo somewhere.
Sorry.
Yeah. So what happened in Kua? The people that we wanted, the people that we chose, hawakuingia. Wale watu ambao waliingia ni wale watu ambao waliiba kura. That's why you are seeing us on the street. But we are on the street because here first. Let me handle something here, then I come.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Even as we have him back, we will be discussing that and what he has raised, among many other things. But if you have just joined us, what are we discussing? We are discussing this fact that Kenyans yesterday took to the streets to demonstrate because of the housing levy that has been squashed by the courts. And this is what they had to say.
Act 2023 unconstitutional.
Waving placards in support of the 1.5% tax on gross salary, commonly known as the housing levy and the affordable housing project, a group of youth drawn from the slums and a number of artisans snaked their way along major streets in Nairobi's central business district in a protest directed at the court's injunctions against the affordable housing project. The group has accused Busia Senator Okiya Omtatah of going out of his way to deny them an opportunity to eke out a living.
The masons, the carpenters have been constructing houses, and later on they retire in their homes without having home ownership. This affordable housing will address the home ownership situation for the Juakali people.
Tumechoka kwa slum. Tumechoka kuchomekewa, tumechoka kubebwa na mafuriko. Sasa hii tumepata opportunity yenye tunaweza pata nyumba yetu na yenye tunajengewa kwa bei nafuu. Vijana hatuna job. Hiyo ndio mboka yenye napigwa pale yenye nasaidia vijana.
Our message was very little to the court, but tuhurumie because hawa mafundi wote mnaniona nao hapa wataenda wapi. Lakini tunamuomba atuangalie. Asinja akatuangusha, watu wote watalala na njaa.
The demonstrations come a day after the Court of Appeal certified as urgent Okiya Omtatah's application to vacate stay orders issued under the Finance Act 2023. In the petition, the Busia senator is challenging the orders issued on November 28th by a 3-judge High Court bench, in which he argues that the judges made an error by declaring the housing levy unconstitutional and in the same breath issuing stay orders on the same. The demonstrators have defended the housing levy, saying that they too have a constitutional right to decent and affordable housing.
Tuko na shida ya housing na ukiangalia kila siku nyumba zinaendelea, slums zinaendelea kuongezeka, na ni haki ya kikatiba ya kila mtu kuwa na nyumba decent house. Tunaunga mkono hii housing levy ndio tuweze kujenga nyumba mingi, kwa sababu ukiangalia watu wa chini hawezi afford mortgage.
Omtatah na ngurubu yake angalie hao watoto wote wamesaliwa kama yeye. hawana kazi. Hao wote tuliwatoa waache kuwa waishi huko kama Mathare wapi. Sasa anataka waruti wapi? Kazi kisha.
The Affordable Housing Project, a flagship of the Kenya Kwanza administration, continues to run into legal headwinds and has been the subject of court battles since inception. The High Court in Kisumu last week issued orders stopping the planned public participation on the Affordable Housing Bill 2023. On Wednesday, High Court Judge Jacqueline Kamau declined to vacate the orders and directed the parties to make submissions for hearing on January 17th.
All right. Now, Mr. G, now you're back. Now, let me ask you. These are Kenyans who have taken to the streets, protesting and asking for the courts not to abandon them at this hour, especially now that they feel that the housing program is about to collapse. But before I even have you back, I see Mary Wekesa kwa show anasema Kenyans have a problem. Well, okay, asante sana Mary Wekesa. I see William Mudhama anasema Kenyans never learn at all, Jakes, okay? Unasema pia hapo Mudhama that they will still recycle such leaders. Fantastic. Okay, Mr. G, what do you make of this protest? Are they sponsored? Are they government-led form of demonstrations? So as kuonyesha this is a popular initiative, or rather this is a popular project by the government and that Kenyans want it. What do you think, Mr. G?
Okay, Jakes, I'll still take you back again. You remember there's a time ambayo Nani came to our side. This guy called Sonko. Sonko, there's a time that he came on our side. Alafu in a very short time akatuacha tena, akatoka akaenda upande wa Ruto. Na akiwa upande wa Ruto, I think they were they in Ukambani ama in Nairobi. There's a place where they had a meeting, a rally, and on that rally he stood up and akasema kuwa those years back after election they used to buy vehicle, those hizo magari ambazo zimezeeka hizo wanachoma, wakisema kuwa ni ODM ndio inachoma. You see, walikuwa wanafanya vituko wakidanganya kuwa ni ODM wanafanya, lakini vituko walikuwa wanafanya, wana sponsor wenyewe, wanalipa pesa watu, wananunua vitu alafu wanaharibu. So just to answer you, nikwambia ni kuwa this is their behavior. Wamezoea kufanya hivyo. These are the people ambao wamelipa, na after sponsoring those people wamekuja nje kuportray picha kuwa Mutata anakosa, ananyang'anya kazi. Okay, I can agree with those guys ambao wanasema kuwa hawana kazi. Yeah, a lot of youths hawana kazi. Not only youths, many people hawana kazi. But now we have to ask ourselves a question also. This thing over housing inachukua how many months? Inachukua maybe 3 months or 2 months. Ikienda sana maybe 5 or 6 months. Imeenda sana. Sasa if you are saying that hii kitu inakukosesha kazi, kitu ambayo itachukua maybe 2 months ama 1 month peke yake ama 3 months, alafu tena inaisha, unarudi kwa uwanja, and somebody who is fighting for you ili uweze kupata kazi ambayo itakuserve for years and years, now your generation pia. Who is the right here? You know, these people wamelipwa.
Mr. G, this was similar to kazi mtaani, which wasn't how do I call it? It wasn't really a permanent job. It was just to help you sustain yourself for some time until you get something worthwhile, because some people have used the money they have found from such what do you call them, short employment or wages to benefit themselves. They are able to feed themselves. Others have begun some small businesses here and there. So don't you think, as much as it's not permanent, is it not helping some people?
But you cannot compare this with the hiyo kazi mtaani. Inaitwaje? Iko inaitwaje kazi kwa vijana?
Kazi mtaani.
Kazi mtaani. We cannot compare this with the kazi mtaani. Kazi mtaani is something that took years. What vijana walikuwa wanafanya for some years. Walikuwa wanafanya kwa sababu ni kitu ilikuwa ikiendelea for a very long time. But this issue of housing, hii ni nyumba ambazo zinajengwa mahali, zinajenga kama nyumba 200 ama 300. After a very short period of time, hiyo shaisha, unaona? Wanaenda another town. Nakumbuka, you are not carrying these people from Mombasa uwapeleke Nakuru. You are not carrying them from Mombasa uwapeleke Busia. Wale wa Busia wanachukuliwa wa Busia. You see, ikishaisha hiyo imeisha. Hautachukua tena watu walete mpaka Eldoret wajenge nyumba zingine. You see, hautachukua watu wapeleke Kisumu. This is something that takes less than 3 to 6 months. After 6 months ni mingi sana. So as much as tunaweza sema inaleta chakula kwa siku moja siku mbili, haitasaidia. Hiyo that is not the solution. Solution ni huyu jamaa aketi chini atafute investors. Solution is to have investors. Huyu jamaa ameambiwa policy ambayo anatumia is a wrong policy. Angalie arudishe investors ambao amekimbia. Look at how people
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying, look at how investors wametoroka, wameenda other countries like in Tanzania. Wametoroka Kenya, wameenda Tanzania. A lot of them kwa sababu gani? Kwa sababu policy of this guy. Mambo ya taxes. Ameambiwa kabisa these things ina affect watu, hasikii. Angalia venye rates za nini za stima zimeenda juu. Hiyo electricity. Watu wanashindwa hata kulipa electricity kwa sababu iko juu sana. So the guy policy zake does not work. It doesn't work. Na that's why investors wamekimbia. Na that's why hata
investors Bwana G, some of these investors would come and want to invest in such projects run by government or such ideas run by government, and equally they would come and implement such programs, this housing program. Wouldn't it not be the same thing you're describing, that it isn't working? Yet some people would still come and invest in the same and work on the same. So is it not a good initiative, in that as much as it's not a permanent one, but at least it helps us cripple from this current situation?
I have no, what I can say is not that I'm opposing what is happening. On that sense kuwa haitusaidii kabisa. What I'm saying ni kuwa inasaidia sawa, unapata pesa kidogo hiyo 500 unapata for only 1 month, 2 months imeisha. That is not a permanent solution. When I talk about investors, those are the people ambao wanakuja wana build industries in Kenya. Na wakisha build industries, mtu anapewa kazi, anafanya for more than 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, 40 years. So you cannot compare those people who are coming to invest in Kenya building industries with something ambao ni building houses ambao itachukua more than 3 months peke yake alafu imeisha.
Okay.
Na the houses ambao nasema, alafu na watu wanasema wanapigania ni watu ambao hawezi pata hiyo pesa kujenga ya kununua hizo nyumba ambao wanadanganya watanunua. The guys hawana job sahi. Hiyo nyumba kuipata ni lazima uwe na almost 250,000 ama zingine uwe na 1 million plus ndio upate hiyo nyumba. Vijana ambao anadanganya na 500 watatoa wapi milioni moja wanunue hiyo nyumba? Watatoa wapi 200,000 ama 300,000 wanunue hiyo nyumba? So those are the policies ambazo haziwezi fanya kazi. That is something ambayo inafaa iwe inaangaliwa for a long time. Uangalie policy na kila kitu ndio aanze kuzileta, lakini kwa sahi kwanza angalia how we can deliver the country na vijana ambao hawana kazi by bringing those investors in the country, watengeze industries, companies, wafungue companies ndio watu wapate kazi.
Yeah. All right, just a moment. Allow me to still engage those who are participating kwa comment section. Namona Martha Waithera anasema great discussion happening here. Asante sana. Mark Capolon anasema I'm following. Asante sana Mark. Mary Wekesa, I see you. William Mwangi, I see you, and many of you who are tuning in. Karibu sana kujiunga nasi kwa show. It's not difficult. I think the last couple of days I've not been saying this, but joining us on the show is not difficult. Kupitia your link ambao unatumia na so many channels supporting this program, inakutuma kwa mahali panaitwa StreamYard. Ukiguza tu hiyo link inakutuma mahali panaitwa StreamYard, itakuuliza activate StreamYard, so click yes. Ukiclick yes, unawasha kamera ambayo iko hapo, unaandika jina lako ambalo si lazima liwe jina rasmi, inaweza kuwa pia initials kama venye Mr. G amejiita Mr. G. All right, and then unajikuta uko kwa show. Okay, so many of you watching, you are invited to participate in this show, even as we continue to discuss many things, even as we near wrapping up 2023. Okay, all right, asante sana. Now Mr. G, the president seems to be pushing his manifesto. You know, one of the reasons for his manifesto was the housing program, which was so fundamental, it was one of the pillars that informed his what do you call it, his policy, or rather his blueprint, you know, when it came to be. So what he's doing is implementing his blueprint, his manifesto, his plan, the plan, actually, that's how they called it. why do you think many Kenyans are yet to buy into some of what he told them? Yeah, most of these things. In fact, alisema nilikuwa nimewaone, because these are the things he had said. Why is it that now imeanza kuwa uchungu compared to when he was saying it and now that he's doing it?
No, the guy, as I just told you, Mr. Jex, the guy had no plan for this country. He had no plan for this country. This guy, remember, he spent more than almost 4 years to 5 years. Giagari campaigning, just campaigning. He had no idea of this, of how the country is run, how the country is governed. So ile time alikuwa anajaribu kunyakua watu, and it was a strategy kushika watu akili, and watu wajue kuwa he has a solution for what, you know. It's not that as we support Azimio tunasema kuwa maisha ilikuwa sawa kwa wakati wa uhuru. Maisha haikuwa sawa wakati wa uhuru. In fact, life was so tough wakati wa uhuru. Tulisukumana na maisha hivyo hivyo na tukafaulu. So the guy, when he came, he used that strategy yake to his advantage. Akiongea kuhusu taxes. Remember, wakati wa uhuru tax ya mafuta ilikuwa around 8%. Na hiyo ndio wakati alikuwa anapiga kelele kweli akisema kuwa uhuru taxes ziko juu sana. Tax ziko juu sana, mafuta iko juu sana.
Mr. G, are you still there?
Anaumiza watu, peleka mpaka 16%. You see, this country in plan, and that's why the policies that are trying to bring ama to create still haitaweza kusaidia.
But this is the plan he sold Kenyans. This is in the blueprint, or rather in the manifesto, the plan, housing. And this housing as well was in Azimio's housing program. So it's nothing new, but it has found its way in court and it's highly opposed. And that's why people are taking to the streets. You know, Kenyans outside there, others are supporting and others are equally opposing it. Omtata has succeeded, of course, to have his way in courts. But now I think the government and some people have chosen to use the streets. By the end of the day, hii panda shika yote, unaona mwisho wa siku, who will carry the day?
Obvious, this guy is somebody who anapenda kuchukua watu on his side. So as much as tutapiga kelele, as much as court itasema sijui mara what mara nini, still at the end of the day watakubaliana na venye anataka, because this is a bulldozer. Ruto is a, can I use that word, bulldozer? This is a guy ambaye ata force. You remember ni juzi tu ambaye ametuambia kuwa nothing will stop him, hakuna kitu inaweza kumsimamisha. So he knows what he's doing. Au watu wote atawashika, au hizo koti zote ataziweka kwa mfuko yake, na kama kuna issue ataongea nao, watakubaliana naye na hivi tutaisha. So me, what I can say is that the country iliingia kwa mikono mibaya. And so it will take a very long time for us to come to where we wanted our country to be, because this country kwa sahi haiwezi rekebishwa na what is happening. The guy atatumia njia yoyote na atatumia vyovyote venye viko. Kama ni pesa, atatumia pesa. Kila kitu ambacho anataka kufanya itafanyika, and that is why he told us that hakuna kitu kitamstopisha. Na juzi hata ameongea mpaka akaleta issue ya sword. Kwa nini akaongea mambo ya sword and yet sword haitumiki kwa kuua watu? Mbona akakasika mpaka kuongea mambo ya sword? Because yeye vene anafikiria ndo hivyo anataka ifanyike. But on the issue of jamaa unaona kwa street, these are the people ambaye amepeana pesa waende wa portray picha kuwa hiyo kitu ni mzuri. Ni sisi tu watu ambao wanapinga, ni watu wanawaharibia kazi. Hii ndio logic ambayo anatumia. Amewalipa tu pesa ili kupenda picture ionekane kuwa watu ambao wanapinga ni watu ambao hawataki mazuri wa Kenya, and yet the thing haitawasaidia lolote.
All right. Now, Larry Moore anasema there is a fundamental law where a person who is forced to work or do anything will begrudgingly do it. It's explained very clearly in that if you teach a man to fish, you will feed him for a lifetime. Wheelbarrow is KYM. I think it's an initial for something. I know I'm forgetting what it meant. Educate the people instead. I recall when they used to make cooking pans at industrial area, and hammering the cooking pans, or rather, and hammering noise was intense. Yet those men advised their kids to go to school. This is the failure of Kenya Kwisha government. The leaders of Kenya Kwanza was just about getting to a president, nothing else. Now that he is the president, amekuwa sababu ya kuibiwa. There is nothing developmental about it. Now, okay. Let's try to go to this government given policies ambazo zimekuwa zikihappen. Apart from housing, the other thing ambayo imeanza kuwa na tumbo joto tayari ni hii mambo ya NHIF ambayo sasa I think ni SHIF, something like that. And Nakumicha today said that it will be 2.7% of the gross salary. So it means more deductions on that taxpayer. That who was on the street, more tax deduction on them, you know. And before we were just paying a cut-off of 500. Now it will be based on on a gross salary, 2.7%. What do you make of that form of policy or that form of taxation?
Just as I just told you, for me with this government, okay, I don't believe in this government. I don't believe in them. Remember, sahi ndio wakati ambao a lot of people hawana kazi. The hustlers hawana kazi, wameketi nyumbani. So akiongea kuhusiana na mambo ya salary gani ambao vijana wako nayo ambao ataweza kukata hiyo 2.5%? You know, these guys hawakuwa na plan of this nation, hawakuwa na plan to govern this country. So they're using policies ambazo wamesoma mahali na wamepata mahali, wakifika wanaweza kuzifanyia kazi, yet they cannot work on it. However, those policies are working, so it won't work. We have millions of people ambao hawana kazi sahi. So 2% watatumia njia gani kwa 2%? Kumbuka wakati walileta ile mambo ya finance, walienda kukata mama mboga, ule mama mboga ambaye per day anauza kama 1,000 ama anauza 700, anakatwa me I thought that taxes huwa unachukua your gross your income and you wanaangalia the amount of money ambayo umemake kwa business yako, utoe expenses, alafu sasa ile ambayo inabaki ndio wanafanya taxes. These guys wanakata mama mboga hata bila kujua mama mboga, wanakata mama mboga taxes bila kujua mama mboga ametumia pesa ngapi kama transport, ametumia pesa ngapi kununua chakula yake, ametumia pesa expenses. Ana wataka kujali expenses gani ambayo umechukua, au wanataka kumkata taxes direct. So guys, jamaa hawakuwa na any plan. So this ni kuumiza tu watu, wanaumiza watu. That's why they're killing they're killing the middle class. Sasa middle class hata haiko, wameumia sana mpaka wamefika mwisho. Jamaa amemalizwa, wamekatwa kabisa makali, hawana njia nyingine. So they are here, these people are here to frustrate people, to frustrate mwananchi na hustlers. Hao hustle wenyewe ambao wanalia ndo na frustrate wa sasa.
Now let's listen into what is SHIF vis-a-vis NHIF. I'll be telling you how people in the private facilities have begun suffering after the abolishment, or rather after the change in NHIF. So listening to this even as we continue with Mr. G.
The Social Health Insurance Fund contributions are likely to remain as stated in the draft regulations at 2.75% of members' gross salary. The CS, speaking in Trans Nzoia, says this is the only way to ensure that all Kenyans are comprehensively covered under the new scheme that replaces the now repealed NHIF. The CS statement comes as private healthcare providers continue to complain over delay in the disbursement of funds by the NHIF to their facilities, hampering service provision. Brenda Wanga has more.
The social health insurance scheme may not have taken effect yet due to court action, but the government through the Ministry of Health says it knows how much those who will have subscribed will part with to access the comprehensive care to be offered under the scheme.
Pamoja na rais tumetengeneza sheria, utakuwa unalipa 2.75%. Watu wa mshahara kubwa wa milioni 1 walikuwa nalipa 1,700. Hiyo ni 0.01%. Wale wameenda shule wanajua that is not equitable. Sasa kila mtu 2.75%.
The proposed rates are yet to undergo public participation, but the CS says the regulations will also see those unable to pay to access the services paid for by the government.
Wale wako na pesa walipie wale hawana. Lakini cha muhimu pia ni kwamba rais ametenga pesa ya kuhakikisha wale ambao hawana uwezo, indigents, wale hawana mapato ya aina yoyote, wale ambao labda ni viwete, hajiwezi, anaishi na disability, rais ameweka pesa ya kuhakikisha ya kwamba anawalipia indigents na wote wanakuwa covered under Social Health Authority.
The fate of the Social Health Insurance Fund lies with the courts, with 3 cases pending before them. The cases are set to be heard next year, but as the fate of the new scheme hangs in the balance, the old and now repealed scheme has been running into financial headwinds that threaten to disrupt service provision in private health centers across the country. Private healthcare providers say NHIF has not been dutifully remitting the finances for the smooth running of their facilities.
We're really suffering. We are even unable to give our patients drugs. Not that we are refusing, but we cannot afford. As you can see here, there is no patient whom we are seeing. Because when they come here, we tell them that, yes, we give them consultation, but we don't have drugs in the pharmacy. We don't have drugs in the pharmacy. So we tell them to go and buy, because in rule of setup, the private hospitals, most of the private hospitals are giving comprehensive service.
We have payments accruing from up to October. Currently, we've not received, and specifically the county of Kajiado, Narok, Turkana and Nakuru are really suffering in this. We have had to strain a lot by, missing to pay our staff salaries. We have not, met our obligations with our suppliers. We have a lot that is pending. Even the statutory deductions have not been paid.
The private hospitals' complaints come as the government insists that it has disbursed part of the funds through NHIF. That money, private hospitals say, hasn't reflected in their accounts, and that situation is making it difficult to render services to those who need them, especially in rural areas.
Kabla tufunge wiki iliyopita tukiwa Nairobi tuliketi chini. Of course tumekuwa na changamoto kwa sababu ya hiyo kesi ambayo iko kotini, because the NHIF was ideally repealed. So kufanya kazi imekuwa na changamoto kiasi na tulikuwa na some delay. But by last week tulikuwa tumetayarisha pesa na tumerelease 3 billion Kenya shillings ya kufikia hizi facilities za mashinani zote. So hakustahili kuwa na changamoto yoyote yule mtu ambayo ako na card.
We have not been paid a single coin. By saying, announcing it in the papers and over the TV that they have been paying us, it's putting us into conflict with our providers or suppliers, why we buy drugs from them, because we cannot afford to pay. They are also putting us in conflict with the patients, our clients, when we tell them that we don't have money to pay to buy drugs, and yet they are told that we have already paid. That is, we were paid.
The private healthcare providers have threatened to have NHIF card bearers pay upfront in cash for services at their facilities if the money owed them by the NHIF is not remitted.
Now, this is the same story in our Stories of Help. Is the same story now for housing fund and all. What's the problem? Because it seems that they are so good in drafting these laws, but they're not good in finding out how to implement it, how to go about it. Because how do you scrap something that has been working to bring something that is so contentious? What do you make of all these decisions back and forth from this government?
These are the guys ambao wana believe in lies. This is something that you need to know, Mr. Jakes. They believe in lies. Always watakuja kwa TV waseme tumetenga pesa fulani, tumetenga siji pesa ya nini. Look at how these people are saying. Kwa TV wanaongea wanasema kuwa wamedanganywa kuwa kuna pesa imewekwa, yet hakuna hata shilingi moja imewekwa pale. So sahi they are having problem even with their suppliers, kwa sababu suppliers wanafikiria wamepewa pesa, kumbe hata kuna pesa wamepewa. And remember pia kuna hospitals ambazo hata watu wengine na NHIF wamefukuzwa kwa sababu NHIF haifanyi kazi tena. hakuna pesa kule. But wakisimama kwa TV they'll tell people kuwa tumeweka pesa sijui bilioni ngapi kwa NHIF, mtaenda kutibiwa free, tumeweka sijui pesa ngapi. They believe in lies, na kwa sababu ya that propaganda imeshaingia kwa kilio mpaka they think that when they lie ndio wanasema ukweli. Sasa umefika mahali mpaka yani it is as if their conscience is dead. They don't reason, they don't think what they're saying, and wanaongea tu kuongea, but they don't. People are suffering, Mr. Jakes. People are suffering. Watu ni wagonjwa, lakini sasa huwezi pata madawa kwa sababu NHIF hakuna kitu. Hakuna kitu unaweza fanya sasa hivi.
Mr. G, when you make some laws, you're almost making it to be criminal to be employed because they're saying ule mwenye alikuwa analipa pesa mingi ought to have paid more. Probably that is the correct argument. So when they introduced this tax, should it have affected even the small guy mwenye kamshahara kake ni 30,000, 50,000, ama ilifai affect wale wako na nyingi sana, you know, like if 0.something% ilikuwa only 1,700, eh? Should they have increased that constant fee to everyone regardless, because it will be the same argument, because 1,700 ilikuwa kwa wale wote from I think 50,000 there about, what walikuwa nalipa that amount, I think around 1,800 therein. Now here 2.7% wameintroduce. Is it a fair tax? Because kama nilikuwa nalipwa 50, nishakatwa housing levy 1.5%, nishakatwa pay ni sasa ndio hii nimeanza kukatwa tena ESHIF 2.7%. Now is it almost criminal in Kenya now to have a pay slip?
No, the problem is just policies. You know, Mr. Jakes, tukiongea kuhusu taxes is not that we are against taxes. No. Paying taxes, kila mtu anafaa alipe taxes. But correct. Now, pay tax, alafu see the fruits of the taxes that you are paying. You know, we have some countries, not in Kenya, but some countries outside there, wanalipa taxes even more than us, when sisi tunalipa. But they enjoy paying taxes because wanaona fruit of paying their taxes. But for us, tunakatwa kila mahali, tunakata kila kona, lakini still unapata watu hata hawezi lipwa, hakuna pesa mahali popote. Kwani this money that they are collecting, hii pesa inaenda wapi? Because I have not seen any project ambayo inachukua pesa yote. Bado sijaona hata one project, lakini pesa hakuna. Na wanakata kila mtu, wanakata kila kona. Yaani mtu anapata mshahara, at the end of the month hakuna kitenda kumsaidia. These guys, I can say that they came to loot. Na maybe their strategy ya kuibia tu wa Kenya, kuibia watu pesa zao. Unakumbuka ile nini ambayo ilikuwa juzi? Unakumbuka ile interview ambayo alifanya huyu Ruto, alifanya na media? Unakumbuka vinakuwa nakidanganya kwa siji KICC imetoa siji bilioni ngapi? Alisema G27 billion ama 30 something billion. Kumbe imetoa millions of money, 100 million of money. Na alikuwa anadanganya kwa kuna pesa yote inatoka. So this guy ni mtu ambaye amejaa na uongo. Na I think it was a mistake. It was a very big mistake kukubali nchi kachukuliwa na huyu mtu.
Now you see, mistake or not, many believe he won the election. As much as we are yet to have the servers open, he is the choice of the many that made him reach 50+1 as per Chebukati. And we would still have complained if it was any other person who would have won, because by the end of the day they ought to have they would have come and implemented their policies. Because even so, Azimio had a housing policy, it had Baba Care, it had things in there that probably needed funding. How different would it have been if it was Azimio? We had Baba Care therein, we had what do you call this? We had housing therein. These are the same things that William Ruto had, you know, because it was like a almost copy paste. But William Ruto's idea seems to be harsh kidogo kwa mwananchi. How different would Azimio strategy have been, given that you're saying that it was wrong for us to accept his win? Given what if the other side would have won? Would life have been different?
Yeah, the difference is skills, Mr. Jakes. You know, just for example, mtu kama daktari. Mimi sijasomea udaktari. Alafu mtu akuje anipatie shindani. Do you know Sijui kutumia hiyo shindani. Nikitumia shindani nitaua mtu. You see, but ukichukua hiyo shindani ukapatia daktari mwenyewe. Doctor, she knows what to do with the syringe. So, our guys ambao wako kwa kiti sahihi, hao ni watu ambao hawakuwa na those policies ambao walikuwa nakwambia, hawakuwa na skill ya kugovern this country. But ukiangalia upande wa kina Raila is a people ambao wamekuwa kwa hii government for a very long time. Na mwenyewe alikwambia kuwa he knows where the money is. Na hiyo pesa ambayo anaongea kuwa atatoa, anajua angepata wapi. So the difference is that kuna watu ambao wako na skills ya kufanya kazi na kuna watu ambao hawana skills ya kufanya kazi. So when you take somebody ambaye hana skill ya kufanya kazi afu umpatie kazi, atakuharibia kazi. But ukipatia mtu ambaye ana skill ya kufanya hiyo kazi, atafanya hiyo kazi vizuri. I believe baba angekuwa kwa hiyo angepewa hiyo chance. He had skills to deliver our country.
If I'm listening to you, you're saying that what Ruto lacks is the skills, correct?
Exactly. That is what I'm saying.
Now,
he had no plan. He had no plan.
Okay. If skills was to be introduced in his government, do you think William Ruto can change the tidings for better?
Okay, I'm not sure because you know the problem with our people in Kenya, kama mtu amezoea kuiba, you see, kama mtu amezoea amezoea corruption, kama tuseme, kama tuchukue kitu kama police, our traffic police ni watu wamezoea corruption, wamezoea hata ifaka wafanyi kazi au wanasimama barabarani kuchukua pesa kwa matatu. So huyo mtu kumtoa hiyo corruption ya kuchukua pesa ni ngumu kumtoa. That's what I'm saying. With the Ruto itakuwa ngumu kiasi. Although maybe he may change later akipewa those skills, but it take time kumtoa kwanza ile kitu ambayo ana believe in. This is a guy ambaye ana believe kuwa anajua everything. Unafaa uelewe hiyo. Ruto believes that he knows everything. No one can advise him, no one can tell him what to do. Yeye anafanya vile anafikiria. So kutoa mtu kama huyo kama hiyo ina take a very long time. So the guy lacks that what we call it, he lacks the governance ambayo iko inahitajika kusaidia Kenyans. Na sasa kumsaidia ni ngumu kwa sababu pia hasikizi mtu yote.
So despite him lacking the skills you're talking about, unasema he is not, is teachable the correct word, or he's not trainable, or he cannot be guided on anything?
He's not teachable. He's not teachable. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
now
huyu ni mtu ambaye he cannot take any advice from any person. He believe in himself. Na because of that, the power imemwingia sana mpaka amekuwa blind. The power imemblind. Yeah. As much as anasema sijui anaelewa kuwa watu hawana pesa kwa mfuko sijui nini. Those are the stories. Kudanganya watu at least waseme kuwa anawafikiria kuna njia atakuja kusaidia. But the guy will never help anything. Yeah. Those are just propaganda ambayo amezoea.
Okay, now let me ask you this, Bwanaji. How comes, and before I ask, I'll play a clip, how comes it is in this regime that the Kenyan shilling has seriously suffered to the level that Ugandan shilling has appreciated more compared to Kenyan shilling? Does it depict an economy that is almost on its knee? Does it depict a government that has failed to really revamp up the economy, despite the president saying that we are at numbers 29 in terms of the best improving economies in the world, and our inflation rate now is at 6.8 or thereabout? And despite all that, our shilling is falling against the dollar, against the Japanese yen, against the Ugandan shilling, against the Tanzanian shilling, against the UK euro, the pound. So I want to come back to you, but let's listen into this.
Has released its third quarter report that indicates that the Kenyan shilling has depreciated against all major international trading currencies. So according to KNBS, the Kenya shilling ceded ground against the euro, pound sterling, US dollar, and Japanese yen by 30.3%, 29.7%, and 20.6% and 15.3% respectively. respectively. So the Kenya shilling also notably depreciated against the South African rand, Tanzanian shilling and the Ugandan shilling. The report further notes that inflation eased from an average of 8.67% recorded in the third quarter of 2022 to 6.93% in the quarter under review. Now, the country's real gross domestic product, that's a GDP, grew by 5.9% in the third quarter of 2023. The KNBS report notes that the growth in GDP was mainly supported by a rebound in agricultural activities that had contracted in 2022.
All right. Now, that is how the shilling is faring out. And they said tulikuwa tumeweka pesa zetu tuka overhype our shilling. Our shilling was doing badly. Eh? Okay, probably it was doing badly against maybe the dollars and all. But tukiongelea hata Tanzania shilling, Uganda shilling. What do you make of our economy when you listen to such a report of how our shilling is doing? Because it is an indication of how our economy is doing.
Our economy is bad, Mr. Jex. Our economy yetu imeharibika kabisa. We cannot compare how economy was under Mr. Uhuru na the way it is right now under this guy ambaye ni Ruto. Kumbuka this regime when they came, I think it was it in April, between March and April. That is when I think nani alijitokeza, huyu anaitwa Rigathi. Rigathi alijitokeza akasema kwa if you have dollars unafaa uzitoe pale mahali umeficha kwa sababu zitaenda kupungua, zitarudi mpaka 20, sijui zitarudi mpaka ngapi. Nakumbuka from that day mpaka leo imeendelea kupanda juu. That shows that our economy is not doing well. Na yeye mwenyewe ametoka juzi akasema the economy is stable. Economy can never be stable wakati shilingi yako inaendelea kudepreciate kila mahali. No. Economy ikiwa stable, your shilling also itaonyesha kwa kweli shilling iko strong. Tutaona investors wakija Kenya. So that is just an indicator that we are really doing bad and we are doing very bad. Na in fact inaendelea tu, very soon tutafikisha 160. Very soon itaingia 160. Yeah.
Now, why is it that William Ruto seems to be someone who many describe is a guy who can perform? Those who come from his region will tell you this is a guy who has never lost any election. This is a guy who they will describe ni jamaa wa kusema na kutenda. You remember his mantra in 2013? And unfortunately, now that he's the man on the steering wheel, everything seems to be collapsing. His idea seems not to be working. He's a man who has touched all sectors, and none of the sectors have begun appreciating or giving him back a positive response. What do you make of it that now even the economy, the shilling, the Kenyan shilling is doing so badly against our neighbors who tulikuwa tunasema ukiwa na pesa kiasi fulani za Kenya ukienda Uganda wewe ni millionaire. Now our shilling is not doing that well. Only 1 year in office. Do you see as though William Ruto has failed to govern the country and equally has failed to come out clean to Kenyans and tell Kenyans, you know what? Nikana kwamba nimeshindwa na job. I need to tell you the truth that we are not well. We are not doing well. And it's my fault, or, you know, because he cannot blame Uhuru always. Now it is his time on the governance seat, and yet the shilling has done so badly. Okay, we have been holding dollars, but are we holding Ugandan shilling in our pockets when you think about it, Bwana G?
Mr. Jex, this is what I have been telling you, that the guy ameshindwa kugovern this country. That's why tumefika mahali tuko. Remember wakati Uhuru alikuwa kwa kiti, alikuwa anatuambia huyu Ruto alikuwa anatuambia kwa yenda alikuwa anasaidia yenda alikuwa anasaidia Uhuru kutengeneza nchi, ambao I expected him being the president now, maisha ingekuwa mzuri sana kuliko vile ilikuwa wakati wa Uhuru. Kwa sababu alikuwa anatuambia kwa yenda alikuwa anasaidia Uhuru first time, lakini wakati Uhuru alimtoa pale ndio economy ikaribika. Wakati Uhuru alitoa Ruto pale ndio kila kitu ikaenda worse. So Uhuru kutoka alafu Ruto kuingia, I expected things to change, but angalia sasa imeonekana kuwa kumbe hakuwa anafanya anything. there's nothing alikuwa anasaidia Uhuru, kwa sababu angekuwa anasaidia kweli tungeona something kuonyesha kuwa kweli alikuwa anasaidia. So the guy ameshindwa. Hiyo ndio ukweli. The guy ameshindwa. Lakini sasa shida ni kuwa hakuna vile anaweza simama akatuambia kuwa ameshindwa. Hata simama aseme hiyo.
Wakati alipokuwa deputy president alicomplain ya kwamba hajapewa kazi, alicomplain ya kwamba ofisi yake imenyimwa uwezo wa kufanya kazi, alicomplain hatukuweza kutimiza majukumu yetu kwa sababu tulifukuzwa na handshake government. He complained that he was only second in command, that his role was that of assigned duties kind of performance, and that's why he never performed. But now he's the president, he's still not performing. Can we conclude that even if angekuwa president or angepewa majukumu, probably hange perform
because he's not a performer. Yeah, he's somebody ambaye hakuwa na hiyo uwezo wa kusaidia, but he's somebody ambao ni mzuri kwa propaganda. He likes propaganda and he loves propaganda, na anajua kutumia propaganda vizuri. So he used to use that propaganda kudanganya watu kuwa alikuwa anajua kazi, nenda kwa anasaidia Uhuru. But kumbuka, kumbe Uhuru alikuwa anajua kitu ambacho anafanya vizuri kumliko hata yeye. Kwa sababu hiyo propaganda, kwa sababu sahi akiwa amekaa kama president, imemuonyesha wazi kuwa he doesn't know how to govern the country. He doesn't know how to run the country. He doesn't know how to put the right policies mali nafaa iwe. He doesn't know how to grow economy of a country. So the guy ako blank, even though wanamuita doctor, but I think angepata kazi nyingine akafanya ingekuwa vizuri. Angeendelea kuuza mayai maybe, kwa sababu tunaambiwa yako na mayai mengi sana. Angeendelea kuuza mayai, maybe hiyo mayai ingeprosper sana kuliko kuja kuharibu nchi. The guy hata tusaidia mahali popote. Alafu sasa kumbuka, these are the guys ambao wameinamia hii inaitwanga aje? Hao jamaa wanatupatia loan, hao wanaitwanga aje? IMF. Hao jamaa wanatupatia loan. Yeah, sasa wamekuwa ni kama slaves kwao. And it is as if they are now slaves. And that is the problem. I'm happy to see Rebel amekuja, but although Rebel kwa na mambo yake kando. But I'm happy to see him. But still, Mr. Jakes, I can assure you that this guy hakuwa na skills ya run the country, hakuwa na any idea ama plan on how to remove Kenya from where it was to a better place. No, he had no plan. Yeah. The policy ambazo kwa nazo ni zile za kuduza duka zile. Mtu anakuambia kwa amerun duka so he can run the country. Huwezi run the country with the skills ambayo umetumia kurun duka. No.
Now, during campaigns, he said, you remember we were asking ourselves, in whose hands are we safe? In whose hands are Kenyans safe? From where you sit this far, have Kenyans been safe in his hands?
Mr. Jakes, we are not safe. We are not safe. Yeah, tuko tunasema we will only be safe kwa mikono ya baba. But sasa baba kupewa hiyo chance. Baba kupewa that chance. So we are not safe. Tumepotea.
All right. Okay, I see my friend Kenya Rebel is in the house. I'll be coming to him just now. But as well, allow me to read some sentiments coming thick and fast. Hapo kwa comment section, namwona Goody anasema hivi, that nothing will change because we have Ruto, Raila, Uhuru from the same regime, but have reappeared with different logos, of course, different parties, and many other forms of ways in which they have been able to change. Alafu anamalizia kwa kusema all we need is a fresh breed. Maoni ya good here. Of course pia Jakes ameongeza hapo madoido ya kwake, but ni sawa. Kenya Rebel, how are you? Hope you had a good day.
Fine, Jakes. How are you doing?
Niko fantastic. I don't know why umezima camera. I saw you with a nice huge mug. I don't know imejaa nini, but I hope iko na content nzuri.
Content nzuri. Ni chai bwana, ni kahawa, usijali. Wacha ni
you can be taking a concoction and then kidogo things explode kwa show. But anyway, hope you're well.
Ai, mimi kwa nini naonewa hivi siku hizi?
Ukiona mtu anakuingilia akona two things, chances anakupenda sana or anaenjoy being in your presence, but all the same we have both for you. Lakini zaidi yote karibu kwa show, na pia wewe ambao ungependa kujiunga nasi, link iko hapo kupitia StreamYard, unajiunga nasi. Let us hear your sentiments. Do you believe that Kenyans learn despite all we have discussed, despite the challenges raised by this government, despite the challenges you have gone through? Do Kenyans truly learn? Because somehow, just not to be a spoiler, we might end up having this government again in 2027, you know? Because if people can come out and protest, you know, and I listened to their sentiments and what they were saying, supporting the housing levy, you know, castigating Bwana Okiya Mtata, and one Kenya rebel has been praising Okiya Mtata for standing tall. But these were people, these were a group of Kenyans marching to the streets, taking to the streets with the famous symbol. You remember it? The wheelbarrow is back. Oh. the wheelbarrow was on the streets. And they were campaigning, and they were calling for the courts not to throw away the housing levy. Yeah, these were Kenyans. Here is Okiya Mtata, the man behind the pronunciation of null and void. So, ladies and gentlemen, Kenyans, do we really learn? Do we really learn? Because William Ruto is not the first politician we have had who has frustrated us. He's not the first MP, the first president, the first leader we are having who has disappointed us because of promising us heaven and delivering something on the contrary. But somehow we might end up, not that I'm saying that has happened or will happen, but we might end up bringing him back, just like we have brought back many who had his likes, who had his character and all. Why do we do that? Do we even learn? Okay, Kenya Rebel, karibu sana. What is your take? These are people who are opposing Okiya Mtata, a man you strongly support.
Asante Jake. Wacha nimsalimie pia ndugu yangu hapo Mr. G. Habari Mr. G?
Nimesalimika mkubwa.
Jake, we always learn. We learn our lessons, but tumejua hii system ambao tunatumia. I mean, can you honestly say that during the 24 years rule of Moi, do you think we were voting overwhelmingly for Moi every electioneering year? No, he was reading himself back. Even in 2013, Uhuru and Ruto did not win. In fact, they were not even qualified to run for presidency. They had cases, ongoing cases. They didn't pass Chapter 6. Then 2017, again, Uhuru didn't win. We all know that. Baba won. So Kenyans see at we make the wrong choices. We are always forced. These leaders impose themselves on us. And our hope was Raila Odinga, who actually turned out to be a con man. And, he joined the
Rebel.
Uhuru. Yes.
Rebel.
Yes.
Please, don't use that word. Don't use that word, con man. Kuwa gentleman kidogo. Kuwa gentleman kidogo. Usitumie that word.
Wacha nikuulize sasa. Wacha nikuulize Mr. G. Wacha nikuulize kwa upole.
Let's go to the topic before you fight.
I'm on the topic. Mtu akikuja akatuambia kesho tutakuwa na maandamano, the mother of all maandamano. Alafu kesho ikifika akatuambia kuna homa. Hatumuoni. Hiyo si ukonman? Mr. G.
No, hiyo hatuwezi sema ni conman kwa sababu watu kwa wagonjwa. Anytime mtu anaanza kuwa mgonjwa. Na ukweli baba tulimuona kuwa mgonjwa lakini alijitokeza. The thing you have to say Mr. Rebel ni kuwa hatukuchukua maandamano yetu serious when ilifaa iwe. Tulikuwa tunataka iwe. But to me that word conman.
Sawa, swali lingine. akikutuambia ati watachukua signature sijui 20 million signature watoe Ruto. Hiyo signature ilienda wapi? Mtu akituambia hivyo na tukua na hiyo signature. Huyo ni conman ama si conman?
That is not conmanship. Umesikia juzi when amesema there's to expect there's something about tuambia on the next year 2024. Mr. Jex, ulisikia when aliongea una interview juzi. I think it was last week ama this week. Ametuambia be ready for a great announcement. So tuache kumjaji mapema.
Wacha nikurudie tena. Ni hizo great announcements amezitoa ngapi? Ile great announcements alitutolea last year, alituambia sijui great announcements, akaanza kutuambia mambo ya mafuta sijui ya nani. Wewe Mr. G, tafadhali, najua wewe ni mtu ambao una akili timamu na ni mtu mrefu, na hata nikikusikia ukiongea wewe ni mtu una point nzuri. Huyu mtu ukimwangalia vizuri, aone anaenjoy. Kila siku great announcement inakuja, hakuna kitu. Ati alikuwa ni mgonjwa. Hauwezi kusema ati kesho ni maandamano, alafu Ruto anasema ati atadili na wewe, alafu ikifika kesho unasikia ati yeye ni mgonjwa. Alafu anajifanya anatembea hapo, anaingia kwa matatu kidogo, tiaga sinarushwa, ameingia kwa gari, anaenda kwa vinio. Na nyinyi mnanyongo, mnauliwa. Alafu anaingia kwa anaweka hiyo nandiko sahihi, anasema ati nimekubaliana na hii maneno nini. Wewe huyo si conman kweli? Hata ukiangalia.
Okay. So siwezi sema ni conman. Okay, nakubaliana na wewe kwa sababu of this hii mambo ya debate ambayo imekuwa juzi. Hiyo article report. Mimi sijakubaliana nayo. But because of that, siwezi sema baba ni conman. No, siwezi sema baba ni conman kwa sababu ya hiyo.
So what will make you see that nini baba akifanya utamuita conman? What must he do for you to see that is a conman? Kwa sababu mimi nikiona, nilianza kumsikia kitambo, kila siku anatuambia ati there will be a great announcement inakuja. There will be great maandamano inakuja naenda. Tutatoa Ruto bado wako. Tutafanya hivi. Hii sijui. At the end of the day anakaa chini na Ruto anampatia kitu kidogo. Na sisi tunaumia, tunarudi kwa shida zetu. So what must he do for you to see that this man is actually a conman? That's why I'm calling him a conman, kwa sababu anatuenjoy hii.
Conman, Mr. Rebel, conman is somebody that takes something from you. Amekukon. You are something, there's something about amekukon from you. You see? So, just tell me one thing about baba ametukon. Kama wewe, baba amekukon nini wewe? For you to call him conman. Amekukon nini?
Okay. Alimikon hivi. Mwaka wa 2017. Tulitoka tukasema baba utaapishwa, na baba alikuwa na sisi akatuambia ameshinda na yeye ndiye atakuwa rais. Tulijitokeza, Joho akatulipia mabasi tutoke huko Pwani kuja Uhuru Park. Watu wakatoka wakasema hata kama ni kifo ni kifo. Wengine walikufa, wengine wakaninia. Tukaenda tukamwangalia, tukamswear in kama the people's president of the Republic of Kenya. Tukapatia usukani. Baba akaingia kwa Range Rover, akapigia Uhuru simu, wakakutana yeye, wakasema ati handshake ndio hiyo. Sisi tukawachwa na tulipigania, wengine wetu walikufa, wengine wetu walikuwa kosa kazi, wengine wamekuwa nini, walemevu, wamekuwa disabled kwa sababu yake. Na akaenda kasalimiana na yule mtu ambaye tulikuwa tunataka kumtoa, ambaye alikuwa Uhuru Kenyatta. Wewe uone hiyo ni conmanship. Kama yule mtu ndio tunataka kumtoa, wewe unaenda unasikizana na yeye, na ulishatuambia vizuri ati wewe hiyo utachukua usukani kwa rais wa Kenya. Hiyo si conmanship? Hebu nieleze.
No, that is not conmanship. You know, Rebel, I agree with you that sometimes baba ana make mistake. You see, hiyo nakubaliana na wewe. Sometimes ana make mistake, but the mistakes that he makes does not qualify it for me kumuita conman, kwa sababu haijafikia hapo mahali pa conman. Kuna mistake kidogo ambao anafanya ambao is normal kwa mtu kufanya.
Unaweza kufanya mistake mara moja, mara mbili ni kusamehe. Lakini hii sasa ni mara 6. 2007 sinalishinda. Akaingia kwa nini? 2017 na hiyo tena. Sasa hizi pia anafanya kitu. Na tena nataka kuwaitia maandamano wengine. Wewe bado huoni ni conman, bado ni mistake tu za baba. Wewe unasema tu ni mistake.
I don't see any conmanship, bwana. I don't see any conmanship. What I know is that Baba loves this nation and he loves people. Hapendi kuona watu wakifa. Okay, Jex amemute
Anapenda
at
mfuko yake, anapenda mfuko yake, si hajapenda hiki,
Jex,
anapenda mfuko yake.
All right,
Jex
gentlemen,
amemute
let's go back
atumisikii.
to what we were discussing. Now I'm
Okay,
back.
what?
Sorry, I've listened to you, but you guys have refused to answer my question, especially Kenya Rebel. Before you
Okay.
went to that, what you said, I had asked you, why is it that Kenya seems not to learn?
I think I answered that, Jake, when I say that we always learn, but we are these leaders who have stolen from us on both sides, whether it's Azimio or Kenya Kwanza. They impose their will on us, okay? And unfortunately, people like my friend Mr. G, they believe them when they impose their will on us. People don't want most of the things that Ruto is doing, whether it's finance bill, hii mambo ya affordable housing, au tuliona wakikimbia kuna ni watu wamelipwa to create this perception that kuna watu ambao wanataka hizi nyumba. Of course, na pia siwezi kusema tu hivyo in a blunt statement. Yes, there are some people who might need affordable housing, a decent housing. But vile nilikuwa nasema jana hapa, nilikuwa nasema housing should be a devolved system. Wacha magavana Sakaja aone kuwa watu wanaishi Kibera wako na manyumba sawa sawa. Si ati serikali haiwezi kusema ati mimi tutajenga manyumba on all 47 counties na mtupatie land ndio tujenge. No, it doesn't work like that. So
why I'm asking you that, why I'm asking you if we really learn, despite all those challenges Kenyans are suffering from, we don't have any region that has scored highly in discontent with the government or in discontent with how KK regime is doing its duty, is delivering its promises or failure of the same. Like for example, of course this is expected. Rift Valley only scored a 60% of discontent, and Central 63%. Of course, I'll be playing the other counties, but look at Nyanza and Nairobi. I expected them to score close to 80, 90, or even 100%. These are Baba stronghold, if I may say so. And but it's like Mkenya hajaubia to the level of being fully discontented with this regime. Is as though bado kukona to hopes that regime. From where you sit, do you think Kenyans still are holding on to hope that probably things might turn out to be better?
Kenyans, hata kama tukina shida, our level of discontent is determined by the demagogues that represent them. The drunk governor of Siaya, when he goes and stands up and says, we'll beat up UDA members. In fact, Azimio is a terrorist group, by the way. It's a terrorist organization. But let me go ahead with my point. Tunangoja tuambiwe, ngoja nimalize kidogo, alafu nitakuacha uninio. Nasema hivi, the problem with Kenya, hata tukiwa ninio tunafinywa, we wait for these opportunistic politicians, these demagogues, to come and tell us how bad things are. Okay? We let them to dictate what we should do next. We the people we don't want to come up with solution. Tunaangalia ma representatives ambao wengine wao hata hawakuchaguliwa. We look at them. So again, our level of discontent is determined by these politicians that tell us, hey, mambo ni mabaya hivi. We don't see it for ourselves, because if it was up to us, we the people, tungesimama tuseme tumetosheka na hii, let's remove or let's do something about it. But it's not that way. Sisi tutangoja Raila kuja huko Ugenya tuambie ati Ruto ni mbaya, Ruto sijui nini, then we buy into that. But we can't. We refuse to think for ourselves. We wait for these conmen to tell us what is going on, what is wrong with us.
All right. Mr. G, why do you think that even strongholds Raila Odinga, the level of discontent is not that high? You see, like the coast region is only at 67, western region only at 67, northeastern is only at 60%, central Kenya is at 63%, Nairobi and Nyanza are the only regions marking high numbers. Why is it only two, despite these challenges being widespread in the entire country?
Okay, Jex, I think before I answer that question, I wanted to rebut on what Nani amesema, Rebel amesema. You know, Rebel ameenda to an extra of calling us terrorists. Na sijui ametoa pi jina Mr. Rebel. I don't know, you know, okay. Sijui kama siku hizi pia wanakunywa pombe mabishop na watu wa kanisani pia wanakunywa pombe ama nini mbaya?
Look up the definition of terrorism. Jake, can you pull it up? Google says the meaning of terrorism. Then I'll see if it fits. Please, Jake, do me that favor.
But Mr. G, go ahead as I do that.
Mr. G, Akimaliza, just I want you to read down the definition of terrorism. Then I'll come back after Mr. G.
Okay,
Mr. G, go ahead.
As much as you know that things are not working well, things are not doing well, and it is this man who you Rebel ambao I think it is 1 week or 2 weeks ago he talked about revolution, and nilikuwa nataka aongelee hiyo revolution, nijue ni which kind of revolution alikuwa anaongea, ambao tunaweza tumia kutoa hao watu ambao anaita conman, hao watu ambao anasema wameshindwa kusaidia wa Kenya, ili tutumie his strategy kupata the right people. Nilikuwa nataka aongelee hiyo kitu, baada hajaiongelea hiyo, aliongea tu siku moja kuhusu revolution na akanyamaza. So I wanted to know which kind of revolution he wanted. Now coming on this issue ambao tunaongea how the counties are not performing and watu wa Azimio, you know, is not that kila leader ana fit kwa ile kazi ambayo amekimbilia kuchukua. Okay, as much as tunalalamika kwa the government inakosa, our people also in Azimio si ati wako they are the best. No, they are not the best. Kuna wale ambao pia wana upungufu yao, you see, but kwa hiyo upungufu, as much as they are opposition, hatutanyamaza wakiwa wanaendelea kufanya mambo ambayo si mazuri. No, we have to speak and we will talk about it. Ni juzi tu ambao imetokezea, okay, Nairobi imechukuliwa na UDA, haikuchukuliwa na Azimio, imechukuliwa na UDA, but kumbuka it is in Nairobi whereby mtu anatumia more than 176 million just kuzunguka tu Nairobi, kuzunguka tu Nairobi. So these people see at wote wako competent. No, it's not that all of them are competent. Corruption imeingia kwa hizi counties. You know, kulikuwa na ile program kwa tulikuwa tunataka tuanze kuongea kuhusu mambo ya counties. Wakati tuanza kuongea kuhusu mambo ya counties, tutakuja kujua vile counties zimeoza. A lot of these counties zimeoza kwa sababu ya corruption. Na wale watu ambao pia maandikwa pale ni watu ambao wako incompetent. So as much as tutasema county inaenda vibaya ama nini, this incompetency ya watu, mpaka hata pia kwa Azimio yetu pia kuna watu ambao wanachukuliwa but they still lack those skills ambao inaweza saidia account to move on. So obvious hatufai kunyamaza, but now I want Rebel kuongelea the revolution ambako anaongelea. That revolution ndio tujue ni which kind of revolution, kwa sababu I had even nani akiongea kuhusu revolution, Wanjigi, they are talking about revolution, but sijaona ni which kind of revolution wanataka kutumia ili wakompoe Kenya kwa hii shida ambayo tuko sasa. Yeah.
Kenya Rebel, respond.
Yeah, I'll get to the kind of revolution we need. But just to make my point that I was trying to make, terrorism, the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians in the pursuit of political aims. Just a few days ago, Orengo made a statement. Actually, before he even made the statement, they were Raila and Orengo were in Ugenya, and the MP, I think, UDA member was there with somebody else was there.
David Ochieng.
David Ochieng, yes. They were chased by gunshots and chairs thrown at them, violence. They were trying to beat them up and they were chased away. And Orengo the next day said that he was so happy that and say that anyone from the UDA cannot talk in Luo Nyanza. And in fact, he offered money, saying that anyone that commits violence against any UDA member or representative, he will pay them as long as they provide a receipt. And also said he will represent them in court. So anyone who supports UDA in Luo Nyanza should be roughed up, beaten up, okay? And he even called Mr. I think Attendee, one of the Attendee, whatever his name is, that should be the commander-in-chief. So these people are using violence against civilians who have the right to choose any political party or persuasion day of their choice. But Azimio has made a declaration through this drunk CIA governor to unleash violence on anyone who does not support their party. Does that not qualify as a terrorist organization by the definition that we just posted there? That's why Mr. G, I know he's mad and he doesn't want to hear this. But Azimio, even through their maandamano, they went out there with the sole purpose of creating violence, unleashing anarchy and carnage, okay, in order to intimidate the wananchi, so that Raila Odinga can have an opportunity with Ruto to sit down so he can have his place in government. That is a terrorist organization. Raila is the head of a terrorist organization, and Uhuru Kenyatta should be jailed for actually financing a terrorist organization. These people are terrorists. They are not a political organization. They're terrorizing the civilians. If they don't get their way, they want to unleash violence and intimidate civilians for their own gain. Okay? Now, coming to your question, how can we have a revolution? If I was to explore every way we can take out these people, including Ruto, the only way is to go the Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso way. We have to have a coup d'etat that is backed by an external military force like the Wagner, okay? So whether it's Ogola or somebody else in the military, that's the only way we can take out this guy. There's no other way we can take out Ruto. Hii mambo ya kusijui ati recalling your MPs and recalling sijui nini, all these MPs are rotten. The opposition cannot do anything. Raila was already in Ruto's pocket. That's why they want to change the constitution so that they can get in the government. So to answer your question, the only solution is to have a military coup d'etat that is backed by probably Wagner of Russia, somebody who is not aligned by the West. And that way we can actually implement really Kenyan patriotic policies that help Kenyans. Just as you see, take a look at what's happening with the Sahel nations, those three nations, Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali. So that's the best way I can see this can happen. So if Jimmy Wanjigi is listening to me, maybe he should reach out to the Wagner group and reach out with some members of the military to see how this operation can work. But other than that, we can only wait till 2027, and by 2027, we'll have Ruto in government with Raila also in government.
Now,
and we'll have the same thing.
Let me ask you, Kenyali, despite what you're saying, Kenyans are feeling the pinch of this regime. The president's performance, some may say it's bad at 47%, but this is not bad. Look at it. It's only 3% to half a mark, meaning almost half the country agrees with his performance. From where you sit, is this some of these opinion polls truly, are they a reflection of the country? Because we might be here thinking, oh, the country is so unhappy with this regime. But 47% is not a bad score. It's a C minus, thereabout. Almost a C. Actually, it's almost a C plus. I'm not sure, but I think it's a C stand or a C minus, thereabout. When you look at that performance, that the president himself, without even his cabinet and everyone else, he performs at 47%. What do you make of such a performance?
Yeah, but what is he performing what is it performing exactly? Is it performance in destroying the country, or performing in what? And I mean, that's why I don't believe in this info track. They don't have the best history. Like they're not reliable source of gauging how things are actually. Info track is the one who told us that Raila was going to win this election. Okay, so why should we believe them? In all, Jakes, these opinion polls are just that, opinion polls. Ruto is not doing anything that is benefiting Kenyan people, short or long term. Okay, he's still borrowing illegally. Okay, he wants to send 350,000 workers in Saudi Arabia to work kazi ya mjengo and be people's watch in Saudi Arabia. How is that helping the Kenyan economy? Okay, so all in all, and he's bringing GMOs and he wants this, he's privatizing everything. Ruto is not doing anything beneficial to the Kenyan mwananchi. But unfortunately, we don't have an opposition because opposition are just as bad, if not worse, than Ruto. That's why I'm saying this political class, this rotten colonial puppet on both Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, we should rid ourselves of them by having somebody who's patriotic in the military. We should have a military coup d'etat to flush out these people and get rid of them.
All right. Kenya, Mr. G, what do you make of the president's performance? Despite us saying, oh, Ruto this, Ruto that, taxes here, taxes there, levy here, levy that. Kenya still gave him a whooping 47%. What do you make of that?
But Mr. Yes, I also agree with Mr. Rebel. Where did this 47 come from? The 47%. Which kind of performance has he done to deserve this 47%? Ama ni vitu gani ambavyo ametusaidia ambayo inampatia? But remember, before I answer this question, I cannot let Rebel, as much as anaongea ukweli, anaongea not 100%, but some things anaongea ukweli, but on the issue of definition of what it is, ametwita nini, ametwita terrorist, and then comparing alafu ana compare terrorism with Azimio. I think it doesn't resonate. The explanation from Rebel and that word terrorism, they don't resonate. So aache kutumia hizo majina ambazo hata haziingiliani. Even his explanation peke yake haingiliani na what Azimio believes in. So hiyo mambo ya conmanship, mambo ya terrorism, hizo vitu tuachane nazo. Wacha tuongee vitu ambavyo tunaongea. Ameongea kuhusu nini? Ameongea kuhusu revolution. Yeah, ameongea ukweli. This guy, it's only what Rebel amesema ndio inaweza mtoa, not any other thing ambayo inaweza mtoa pale. Hiyo mimi agree nayo. On the issue of performance, I agree with what Rebel amesema. You see, but ikifika mambo ya kuita kwa sababu ya hii hasira yake, anaanza kutuita majina mengine ambayo hata haingiliani, hiyo tuache bwana. Hiyo tuache. On this issue of performance, Mr. Jakes, performance siji imetoka wapi? I don't see. Mtu anafaa pewa hata 10% ama akenda sana 20%. Because there's nothing he has done for this country. Sijaona any project ambayo ameweka ambayo inasema inasaidia mwananchi. Akiongea kuhusu mambo ya NHIF, ni wewe mwenyewe umeplay hii clip. Doctors wanalia, wanasema umedanganywa. Hiyo pesa ambayo anasema ameweka, hakuna pesa yote ameweka. You see? So, which kind of project huyu jamaa amesema amefanya ambayo inamqualify kupata hii 47%? Kwa sababu mimi sioni. I don't see anything that qualifies as him kupata hiyo 47%.
Okay, interesting. Now, if Kenyans were unhappy, if Kenyans truly were unhappy, Kenya Rebel, why is it that as much as you call for revolution, you call for blah blah blah, it's not blah blah blah, you call for, what do you call this? You call for public outcry yenye itafika mpaka president aseme, hey, nimesikia kilio chenyu, wacha either ni step down or ni pull up my soul. Why is it that mwananchi hajafeel hii pinch? Is it that anatosheka tu, akifinywa anatosheka, akiongezewa housing levy anakubali, akiongezewa NHIF to SHIF to 2.7% anakubali, akiongezewa NSSF fee anakubali, akiongezewa VAT fee anakubali, akiongezewa pay anakubali. Sasa hata taxes ni mingi kuliko mshahara yenyewe, bado mwananchi haja feel the pinch. Mwananchi bado in fact anajitokeza kwa street akisupport government. Is it that Kenyans are comfortable with the situation?
No, like I said, Kenyans don't know what to do, the right route to take when they are wamefinywa. Tukifinywa tunavumilia tu, tunasema hiyo hiyo ni kawaida, sisi ni masafara, tumezoea. Unaona, hata tunakasirika, alafu tunangoja hawa wanasiasa wetu wa opposition watuambie kitu cha kufanya. Unaona, hata kitu kama maandamano. Kwa nini tungoje Raila Odinga tuambie ati twende maandamano? Si tuende maandamano saa hizi, tuseme tu kama tumechoka na maisha, niambie Mr. G, niambie Jex, hata tukutane hapo na upigia wakina Mzalendo simu, tukutane hapo KICC, tuanze kupiga makelele juu ya maandamano. Mbona tungoje hao watu watuambie ati tunafinyiliwa taxi imezidi, sijui mafuta yanaibiwa, tungoje Raila ati ndio twende maandamano? No. That's why I'm saying, Jex, hata kama tunafinywa, ubaya wetu tunangoja tuambiwe kitu cha kufanya na hao wanasiasa. So as long as we depend on these politicians, our politicians watatucheza because they are using our grief for their own selfish good. So kama mwanasiasa fulani anataka kiti cheo kwa nenio, amejua ati watu wamekasirika kwa sababu ya bei ya maisha, gharama ya maisha, so ataenda aseme twendeni maandamano. Alafu Ruto atasema tuache maandamano ndio uchumi endelee. Alafu mimi nitaambia Ruto, basi kama unataka hao watu watulie, nipatie kiti hapo na mimi nipate kiti ya official opposition. Na kisha nipatie kiti, nitarudi hapa niwaambie ati sasa poeni. Nimeongea na Ruto atengeneze maneno. Alafu tutasema haya ndio hiyo handshake. Alafu tutavumilia tena shida mpaka 2027. So hiyo ndio shida yetu. Shida iko, lakini we are waiting to be told what to do instead of taking action. Sasa hizi mambo ikienda mrama, tunafaa tujiulize, what can we do to stop Ruto from doing this? What can we do? Hiyo ndio kitu tunafanya, lakini we shouldn't be asking ourselves, kwa nini baba aongei? Kwa nini baba asemi kitu? Kwa nini baba afanye? No, we as the people. Baba kuna milioni zake. Okay? That's what I'm trying to say.
Now, Mr. G, despite all this, the president seems to be enjoying some support, even in Azimio stronghold. As you have seen, 60%, 63%, 70% is the highest in what we may term as Azimio stronghold that are discontented. It's not so high, very high, that maybe time might not change those who are discontented. Why is that? Why is it that despite us saying here in the show several times without number that we have a situation in our country, but many Kenyans seems to be reading from a different script, including those in Azimio stronghold, and equally those in Kenya Kwanza stronghold have not been aggrieved enough, to really push for to increase the number of those discontented. So even if this revolution was to happen, even if many were to come out on the street, even if Baba was to call for demonstration, do you think it would be embraced by many, given that the many who we thought are discontented haven't reached huge numbers that we can even say that truly the president has lost ground? Because as it is at the moment, he's only at barely 47%. Some may say it's low, but from where I look at it, it's only 3% from 50%. Almost half of the country is in support of what he's doing. So from where you sit, what do you make of all this? Are we just blowing hot air? and maybe the country is at peace with this government, the country probably might even re-elect this. Maybe I'm blowing it or overstretching this point, but what do you think Kenyans are at the moment? Are they almost happy with the government, contented with the government, feel it's okay, hata tukifinyilio, maybe we have no other option, tutavumiliana hali yetu, tutapambana na hali yetu hadi tamati? Well, what would you say informs these figures we have seen? As much as I agree with you, sometimes these polls are not anything to go by with, given that some walisema hivi, but at times it doesn't go that way. But if this was something to work with, what would you say?
Mr. Jakes, to me, I don't believe in these numbers. Kwa sababu tangu nizaliwe, hakuna hata siku moja nishakutana na jamaa wakaniuliza maswali. So sijui kama ushakutana nao wakakuuliza maswali ama ni watu gani ambao kwa wanaenda kuwauliza ndio watupatie those numbers. Because for me, I don't believe with them. And I don't believe in these numbers. What I know is that watu wanapitia hali ngumu. Na watu, they are not contented with what is happening with this president. President ameharibu nchi. Economy imekuwa poor. Economy imekuwa mbaya sana. Mpaka sasa hii our shilling comparing to Uganda and Tanzania ime depreciate. Haiko vile ilikuwa kitambo. So when jamaa anakuja anatuambia kwa is almost 50%, I'm still asking myself, ni kitu gani ambacho amefanya mpaka anapewa 50%? Sioni anything ambacho amefanya mpaka apate hiyo 47%, na hakuna mtu ambaye amekuwa contented. Tukiongea mambo ya revolution, I think Kenya kuna kitu ambao Rebel amesema na nitaagree na yeye. Most of these people in Kenya, I think ni wale watu ambao hata wakifinywa mpaka afika point ya mwisho wataadapt that situation. Alafu atasema wacha tu tuvumilie, mambo yatakuwa mazuri. But ingekuwa ni any other country, kama vile ile nini, kama vile Jasmine Revolution ili happen. Jasmine Revolution ilianza na kijana mdogo ambaye alikuwa anauza matunda. Na from that place huyo mtoto akiuliwa, akijichoma kwa sababu ya what happened, hiyo nilifanya mpaka huyo president akatolewa mbio. Kwa sababu watu walikufa. But in Kenya watu wanaogopa hata kufa. When you call maandamano sahi, Ruto anaenda kuua watu. Kwa sababu Ruto hata the maandamano ni kitu kwa our constitution na inatuallow kupicket na kuprotest, but Ruto ataua watu akitumia live bullet. In Jasmine, hata hizo bullets zenyewe kuziogopa. The bullets wakuziogopa mpaka huyo president akatoroka mbio akacha that country. So I think we need to come to a place where by there's a act venao jamali act kwa hiyo Jasmine Revolution ndio tuweze kufaulu. But with this mambo ambayo inaletwa sijida infotruck at 47%, some people are contented with this guy. No one is contented with this guy. Ni watu ambao analipwa ukiona na protest, wamepewa pesa kidogo na Ruto, wanapiga kelele waonekane kuwa Ruto anafanya kazi nzuri, sisi tunawaharibia tukiopose. Nothing, hakuna kitu mtu amefanya bana, mtu ni mkora.
Mr. G, ngoja kidogo. Mr. G, watu wa Kenya hawaogopi kifo. Na natumia 2017 walijitokeza wakasema kama ni kufa ni tukufe, lakini baba mpaka apishwe. Uhuru apende asipende, baba atapishwa. Na watu walijitokeza kutoka pembe zote za nchi kusema baba lazima apishwe. Na hakuna kitu Ruto nani alifanya, Ruto na Uhuru Kenyatta. In fact waliogopa. Lakini baba alitusaliti. So usiseme ati Wakenya wameogopa. Wakenya hawaogopi. Wakenya wakiamua ati wanataka kufanya kitu na kuambia saa hizi bwana G, hata wakiamka kesho waseme ati wanataka kutoa Ruto na kuambia Ruto atachukua hiyo ndege yake aende huko sijui wapi, Sigoi ama ndio wapi. Wakenya wakiamua wataamua. Shida yetu ni kuwa tunaweka matumaini yetu kwa mtu mmoja ama wanasiasa fulani kama vile Raila Odinga. So akituambia enda left tunaenda left, akituambia tuende right tunaenda right. Lakini sasa ndio mimi nasema hivi, hatuwezi kuweka matumaini yetu kwa mtu mmoja, kwa sababu huyu mtu ikifika mahali pale tunataka tuko karibu kufika pale tunataka, anatuambia acha niongee hapa niweke deal hapa alafu tupoe. Lakini watu walikufa na watu walijitokeza wakasema kama ni kifo, lakini baba mpaka apishwe, na aliapishwa Hakuna kitu Ruto na Uhuru walifanya. Sina alikuwa na GSU, hata GSU walitoroka hiyo siku. Enda ukaangalia the day ile siku 2018 vile nani aliapishwa, na baba aliapishwa. Walileta GSU asubuhi, GSU wakakimbia, walifukuzwa. Na watu walisema kama ni kifo ni kifo. So usiseme ati Wakenya wameogopa kufa. Hakuna mtu ameogopa kufa. Ni sisi tumependa amani na upendo, lakini ubaya wetu tulikuwa tunaangalia baba, maana baba ni mtu of all that yo rende ya baba huko, he's the last of the dying breed. Yeye ndio mtu amebaki. Wakina Matiba walikufa, wakina Shikuku walikufa, yeye ndio amebaki peke yake, maana ndio maana napata hiyo heshima. Lakini naye alitusaliti. So this time tukirudi kwa barabara, Wakenya wakiamua wakisema Ruto mpaka toke, baba mwenyewe hataweza kufanya kitu.
Lakini tumeona Wakenya wamerudi kwa barabara na hawajarudi kusupport what other teams have been saying like Azimio. Wamerudi kusupport the government. In any case, we saw them as much as many are saying hao ni wakulipwa. Maybe my question would be to you guys, has William Ruto lost the fight in court? Now he's taking to the people through the streets to showcase some funny challenges or rather contestation, akitumia wananchi wa protest ili aonyeshe how popular the housing levy is. Is it a strategy now ameamua atumie now that the court seems not to relent in making sure that the housing levy truly collapses? Who do I start with? Let me start with you, Bwana Kenya Rebel.
You know, Jakes, perception is reality. Ruto probably sponsored this maandamano ya affordable housing because he wants to create the perception that watu wanataka hii affordable housing. Unajua, in a democracy you have to pursue people. Huwezi kuwalazimisha watetee policies ambao unataka kuweka. So ukijua policies zako watu hazitaki, wamezikataa na hazifanyi kazi vilivyo, you use people, you pay people to go out there to create this perception. Hiyo uliona hiyo maandamano yao ndogo hapo. Sasa mtu ambaye amekaa nyumbani atasema unajua nini, kuna watu ambao wanataka hii affordable housing. Sasa hata wakienda kotini atasema unajua nini, mliona watu wamejitokeza huko, watu walijitokeza Kibera wanataka hii maninio affordable housing, just to create the perception. Ndio maana nilikuwa nasema hapa, nikirudia ile nikisema ati Azimio is a terrorist organization. Nilikuwa nasema hivyo kwa sababu gani? Ile maandamano ilipita, kabla ijaanza kulikuwa na video inapitishwa, wakina Gaucho na Mungiki walikuwa na mpanga na walikuwa na kunywa damu, wanajipaka na damu. Why were they doing that? They were creating this perception of intimidation. Ati kama ni mbaya ni mbaya, to scare the civilians, to create intimidation, to intimidate civilians. So that's what I'm saying. You have to create a perception on that will benefit you. Hizi violence zikifanyika maandamano, who does it benefit? It doesn't benefit the government. It benefits Raila Odinga, because now he can sit down and say, tell Ruto, if you want us to have peace, mpaka usit and you have to meet my demands. And the same thing Ruto is doing now. Akasema wacha nilipe hao watu waende hapo maandamano na hizo wheelbarrow zao, wajifanye ati wanataka hii affordable housing, to create the perception that people want this housing, but the truth is no one wants it.
Mr. Jakes. Mr.
Yes,
Jakes.
Mr.
No,
Rebel,
no,
I'm sure you have. Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, now I get the point. Now I get the point why this guy is calling us terrorists. But I want to tell him something. Mr. Rebel, wale watu ambao uliona wameshika panga, go and listen to that clip. Those were guys of UDA. Na kwa nasema wanachukizwa panga, wanakuja kuua watu wa Azimio. Go and listen to that clip bwana. Hakuna mahali watu wa Azimio wamechukua mapanga wakawa wanaonyesha vile jamaa alikuwa anaonyesha vile. Those are people ambao wamenunuliwa na watu wa UDA and their purpose were to come and slash Azimio. Listen to that clip vizuri one.
What? Let me correct you. Gaucho. Si unajua Gaucho? Colin nani? Alikuwa Jakaranda na panga na kunywa damu. There's a clip of that. Okay? Explain that. And why did nani huyu Raila, kwa nini alileta kaanza kushikana na huyu Maina Njenga? if you know anything about history of Maina Njenga is not a saint. He has killed thousands of people and he was brought along. Why did he bring them along? Because he's the head of Mungiki. So he was brought to kill people in order to intimidate the civilians so that Raila can sit down and negotiate for a position. Terrorism.
No. Just find that clip and play. Kwa sababu hakuna mali nimeona Gaucho akikunywa damu akisema tunaenda kupiga watu wa UDA. There's no clip nimeona kama hiyo. Na mambo ya Maina Njenga is a reformed person. Ni mtu ambaye ameokoka sahi. In fact, he is a pastor. So hatuwezi sema kuwa tuta accuse mtu on what he did on the past life. Hapana. Maina Njenga ni mtu ambaye amebadilika sahi. Na si mtu hiyo terrorist group ambao na believe in. Hiyo Mungiki ambao unasema. No. He's not a leader of Mungiki tena. He's a reformed person.
What makes you think he's reformed? Because he said he's a pastor and now he's reformed. Even when he was asked to Jeff Koinange alimuuliza, will he apologize for what he did? Akasema ati during war is war. Ati watu wanafanyanga vitu mbaya na tuna move forward. Is that a person who's reformed? Tafadhali, Mr. G, don't insult us.
All right, Mr. G, I'm about to play the clip you have requested for. And ladies and gentlemen, this is so graphical and so it's so deep. So kindly come on a Tumbo Light, please. You can pause kidogo and then come back. But I'm about to play a very graphical, more violent clip just now. So due to popular demand, here we go.
Sijui tuite kizaazaa ama ni vitisho baridi. Kwa video ambayo unaona vijana fulani ambao wanasikika wakizungumza lugha ya Kikuyu pale, wakinongonezeana jinsi watakavyo pambana na wale watu ambao watakaandamana siku ya kesho tarehe 19 haswa kwenye uwanja wa Jacaranda, ambapo kiongozi wa Azimio, wafuasi wa Azimio wanapanga kukutana ili kuweza kuendelea na maandamano yao dhidi ya serikali ya William Ruto. Nataka utazame video hii hapa kwanza. Na pindi tu baada ya video hiyo kusambaa kwenye mitandao ya jamii, kuna video nyingine ambayo imeweza kutokea, video ambayo unamuona yule ghetto president anayejulikana kama Gaucho, na ni video ambayo unamuona akiwa pale na vijana wengine pale wakikunywa damu ya mbuzi. Hebu tazama video hii hapa.
All right, enough of that for now. That's already given me.
Okay. Let me ask you something. Let's now let's exercise our intellectual ability. The day before the D-Day, hiyo maandamano, there are a couple of men who say that wanaonyesha panga na wanasema Kikuyu ati sijui watapiga watu wa UDA, whatever the case is, right? All right. Incidentally, at the very same day, watu hao Gaucho pia wako na panga, wananinio mbuzi na wanakunywa damu, whatever the case is, okay? What is the purpose of doing that? We know that the people who Mungiki are always aligned with they're influenced by Maina Jenga. But what is the purpose of this video, these images of these guys having panga and wengine wanakunywa damu? What is the purpose of that? It is the same purpose. Ukiona zile picha za Osama bin Laden nao au al-Shabaab wanaonyesha picha wanakata mtu kichwa. What is the purpose of that? It is to instill fear, intimidate the citizens. Ndio watu waseme, mi kesho siendi town. Kesho mambo ni mbaya. Watu wanaenda kuuana. Everything will be in a standstill. There will be bloodshed tomorrow. This is basically the message that both of these videos were showing. And who should, ask yourself, who benefits when Mandamano is called and the country comes into a standstill? Who benefits? Answer those questions and you'll know who was behind this. It doesn't take rocket science.
Mr. G, I know you're almost signing out, but go ahead.
Yeah, you know, Jex, on the issue, yeah, nani, this guy, huyu jamaa wa Azimio, anaitwanga nani, Gaucho. Okay, sikuwa nimeona that clip, but I think that is a very wrong way of portraying your behavior. You know, mimi nilikuwa nimeona ile clip ya wale jamaa wa Kikuyu, wale ambao walikuwa wanasema wanakuja kupiga watu wa Azimio kwa mkutano, but I had not seen this clip ya Gaucho akiwa anakunywa damu akisema pia anaenda kulipiza. I think this is a very wrong way of acting. I think we need to come to our senses whereby we can do things rightly na vizuri. Ikiwa tunafanya hivyo, I think I'll agree with the statement ambao nani amesema, Rebel amesema kuwa we inflict fear into lives of people. That's why unapata wakitisha maandamano, watu wanasema kwa watu wanaenda kuuliwa pale. Hatutafungua biashara zetu, hatutaenda town kwa sababu watu wanaenda kuuliwa. Those pictures, sikuwa nimeona hii ya Gaucho. And I think this was a wrong act akifanya hivyo. We was not supposed to do that. Even though tulikuwa tumeambiwa tunakuja kupigwa, tulikuwa tumeambiwa tunakuja kuchinjwa. Hao jamaa kwa wamechukua panga wakiapa kwa anakuja kutuua, but we had no, sioni kama it was a right way to respond to such an act. But what I can say on this clip I'm gonna play sahi, this clip imetengenezwa na watu wa Ruto. This is their behavior whereby they buy people to portray a picture and they're sending message to some people wakiwaambia wanapenda what the government is doing and yet the government is doing nothing. Unaona Mr. Jex, these people wamenunuliwa na Ruto na timu ya Ruto just portray that picture kuwa government is doing something good but Azimio wanawapinga, hawataki wafanye the right thing.
Okay. As much as Gaucho ni wa Kenya Kwanza, but anyway, not wa Kenya Kwanza, ni jamaa wa Azimio, and anyway, but even as we go on, and I wish to bring in another form of argument to this conversation. How would you describe 2023 in as far as political scenes are concerned? We began this year with the call to have the servers open. We began this year with ultimatum that in few days we must take Ruto out of power. We had that clarion call to, you know what, lazima tufike State House. How would you describe year 2023?
The year 2023 is a sad year. It's a very sad year kwa sababu we believed in many things that we thought maybe it'll shed a light on what was hidden, but tulikuja tukaona kuwa in the same thing we are trying to do, tukifikiria we are following constitution, the person ambaye ameshika constitution ndo alikuwa anatuua. A lot of our young guys waliuliwa bila sababu yoyote. Maandamano inaruhusiwa kwa katiba, but Ruto hakuona kuwa maandamano ni kitu kinaruhusiwa kwa katiba. Yeye aliona ni kama ni watu wabaya na kama kutupiga risasi, na in fact si kupiga tu risasi, he used to kwenda kwa manyumba za watu, wanatoa vijana kwa manyumba wakiwapiga mpaka wanaua. You see, so 2023 bado tujaimaliza, but it was and it is a sad year. A lot of things happened, a lot of people wamekosa kazi, a lot of investors wametoka Kenya kwa sababu ya what is going on with this regime. Watu wengi kampuni zao zimefungwa because of what is happening with this regime. So there's nothing we can be proud of, Mr. Jakes. Nothing can we be proud of. Even though some people may portray that, I may purport to say that maybe the government has done something and we are proud of it. There's nothing that we can be proud of. This government has failed. Na imefanya kila kitu kuharibia mwananchi wa kawaida maisha yao. Kumbuka, under the former regime, at least watoto walikuwa wanaenda shuleni free. From next month, wazazi watafaa prepare kwanza kulipa shule, kwanza kulipa karo ya shule. Under the former regime, wazazi wa mama walikuwa wanaenda wanazaa kutumia linda mama, wanatumia free of charge. Sasa hivi vitu kama linda mama zilitolewa kitambo sana, zilitupwa mbali. Life imekuwa hard for every person. So it's not an year to be proud of. No, it's not an year to be proud of. Imekuwa a very sad year. Yeah.
Even as tunasikiza matukio 2023 via KTN, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to listen in, then I'll have Mr. G come back. We give you our sentiments on it, and then we will be wrapping up this one. But this is Matukio 2023, and
Prime, and welcome back. Now, from 2018 to 2022, the country had no functional opposition. This was after the then opposition leader Raila Odinga and former President Uhuru Kenyatta set their differences aside with a handshake. In those 4 years of the handshake, the government and the opposition read from the same script, agreeing on almost everything. In these past 12 months, things have been the complete opposite. Raila has returned to his former fiery self. From organizing nationwide demonstrations against President William Ruto's government to releasing damning dossiers on recent scandals, Raila has been in his element in 2023. Our political affairs reporter David Muthoka looks at the return of the old Raila and efforts by the opposition to keep the government in check this year.
In March 2013, retired President Uhuru Kenyatta beat the then-called leader Raila Odinga in a hotly contested presidential election to ascend to the highest office in the land. Uhuru's victory meant Raila would be returning to the opposition benches from which for years he had kept governments in check. And return he did, from exposing several corruption cases in Uhuru's government during his first term to leading protest over, among other issues, IEBC's reconstitution. Raila was in his element.
I, Uhuru Kenyatta.
4 years down the line, another defeat at the ballot meant that Raila would remain as the opposition leader for another 5 years. Almost immediately after the August 2017 election, the then NASA leader led another round of demonstrations against the government that culminated in a mock presidential swearing-in ceremony.
So help me God.
This will go on for a few months. In March 2018, Raila and Uhuru descended the stairs of Harambee House to announce to the country that they had set their differences aside and that they would henceforth work together.
This marks a new beginning for our country, a beginning in which we hope that we shall march together as Kenyans and that we can differ in terms of political alignment, but always remain steadfast and united in matters Kenya.
And we say that the divide ends here, beginning the process of building the bridge that binds Kenya together.
The line between the government and the opposition was blurred. The blissful relationship between the government and the opposition went on until the end of President Kenyatta's second and final term in office in August 2022. The government even backed the opposition's choice for flag bearer at the ballot, Raila, who was competing against the then Deputy President, William Ruto. Ruto had fallen out with his boss Kenyatta and became the face of opposition within the government.
Kazi yake ni kupiga mdomo na yeye mwenyewe yako ndani ya serikali. Hawezi kuja kukuambia anajaribu kusema ukiona barabara ni yeye, ukiona njaa ni mwingine. Kwani serikali ni mbili?
Na mimi nataka nimwambie rais, wacha kuniletea maneno my friend. Wewe sukuma candidate yako bwana kitendawili. Unaniongelea nini? Sijui kama tunaelewana. Mr. President, please stop talking about me. Talk about your candidate.
After the August 2022 elections, Raila lost again. Ruto became president and immediately shut the door on any post-election handshake with Raila, unlike his predecessor.
Our position is that we should never be in the position that this country was put by the handshake, where there is no distinction between government and the opposition.
Raila, who was 77 then, was under pressure to retire from politics, having lost the presidential election 5 times. Raila did not hang his political boots. If anything, he tightened the laces. A few months after Ruto moved into State House, the opposition leader began holding anti-government rallies to push for an audit of the election, which he claimed was rigged, as well as to push for the lowering of the high cost of living. The rallies went on for months until March 2023, when the opposition upped the ante. Weekly demonstrations kicked off against the President Ruto administration. The protests continued for weeks in several parts of the country until April 2nd, when Raila called them off after a call for dialogue with President Ruto.
I have carefully listened to the issues raised by my friend, the Honorable Raila Odinga. In times like this, it is not about who is right or who is wrong.
In view of the foregoing, we stand down our demonstrations for Monday, that is tomorrow.
A month after protesters left the streets to pave the way for talks between the government and the opposition, they were back in May. The talks had hit a snag. A third wave of weekly demonstrations started in July. In some parts of the country, protesters lost their lives. Others were seriously injured, while property was destroyed. The demos only came to an end after Raila and President Ruto met face-to-face on July 29th in a secret meeting in Mombasa.
Indeed, there was a meeting chaired by His Excellency Honorable Obasanjo. And Baba accepted to appear in that meeting because of his respect for His Excellency Honorable Obasanjo.
Niliongea na kiongozi wa upinzani na viongozi wa upinzani na nikawaambia ya kwamba sisi ni nchi ya demokrasia.
The two agreed to return to the negotiation table and a national dialogue committee was established. For months, the committee negotiated and came up with the national dialogue report in November. While President Ruto fully backed the report, Raila termed it a good start but unfinished.
All the recommendations they have made, they are practical. We are going to work on those recommendations to reduce in areas they have recommended, to do whatever they have recommended in Parliament. Those that belong to the executive, I will make sure that we execute without any delay.
We made what we believed were reasonable proposals on how to address the rising cost of living. But the government side flatly refused, terming it their exclusive business, and further arguing that they got the mandate of Kenyans to execute their Kenya Kwanza economic agenda. The document the team has come up with is ultimately imperfect and unfinished, but it is a good beginning.
Several other opposition leaders wholly rejected the report that could be ultimately subjected to a referendum.
So to Azimio, we had already agreed that 3 issues were deal breakers.
Ofisi ya Prime Cabinet Secretary, ofisi ya upinzani. Hizo ofisi zitasaidia maisha yenu yarudi chini kweli?
And as Parliament waits to debate the report when it resumes early 2024, Raila has since reignited talks of a 4th round of demonstrations in 16 months should the government fail to address the high cost of living categorically in the National Dialogue report.
Zakayo shuka, wananchi wanaumia. Tulisema ati mwaka jana tulisema punda imechoka.
Raila's sentiments are a clear indication that he is not relenting anytime soon to keep the government in check, and a clear message to President Ruto that he is back doing what he does best. David Muthoka, News, now, Nairobi.
Mr. G, what do you make of those sentiments from Katie? And of course, I'll be playing another one even as I'm releasing you, because I know you have an early one. But what do you make of that relook of the year 2023? Of course, they have gone back to look at how Raila was in terms of his role in the previous regimes, especially the last one, where he was almost classified as a handshake part. Of course, he was the handshake partner. And of course, many said they formed the handshake government, but now they are now saying he's now back. They have gone ahead to describe the events that have happened, of course, from all the demonstrations and from all that has transpired in the year 2023. From where you sit, what do you make 2023 to be like? Do you agree with their opinion, or rather what they have brought home? And as well, do you agree that probably come next year, 2024, we are in for another interesting year? Come 2024, we should expect interesting turn of events in as far as politics is concerned here in Kenya.
Okay, I can agree with what they're trying to show, because we see kulingana na what they're showing, wanatuambia kuwa Raila has come out to be the person ambaye he's doing what he used to do best. But on the other side, inaweza sema kwangu mimi bado have not seen Baba doing what he used to do best, because if juzi tu ambaye Baba amejitokeza akawa ana support this report, and yet the report ime contain vitu ambazo alikuwa ha believe in, kama hii mambo ya kiti ya opposition leader. These are things ambazo hazikuwa kwa agenda ya Azimio. They were brought in by UDA, but amenda alafu akaisupport that report. I think Baba should come out clear na aseme kuwa he's on which side, kwa sababu mostly ameonekana kuwa ni mtu ambaye sometimes ni sawa ndio anaitisha maandamano, but sometimes pia ana cool, unaona. Hakui kama vile alikuwa kitambo, ile aggressiveness ambayo alikuwa nayo kitambo, akisema hataki story yote na kitu yote ambayo haifai naye, kitu yote ambayo kubaliana nao haifai nao. This time around tunapata sometimes ako ani hayuko straight kabisa kutuambia kabisa yuko on which side, you see. So we are expecting next year maybe itakuwa na different turn of events, but more so if at all ataweza kutoka kimasomaso atuambie kuwa which stand anasimamia yeye, then things will not be different. Because me, I'm expecting him to be like Martha Karua. Martha Karua ametoka na stand yake akasema mimi sikubaliani na kitu, sikubaliani nayo kabisa, mpaka ile siku ambao watafungua server ajue ukweli. So Baba should also come out clearly, aache kukubali vitu zingine na vitu zingine anakataa. Siona kama juzi ile time ambayo alikuwa kule Bondo akiendozi Ruto, hadi akiendozi Kalonzo, baadaye tena kuja akasema no, hakuwa anaendozi Kalonzo, alikuwa anajibu Ruto. So Baba should just come clear na awe straightforward na what he wants, what he believe in. Kama anataka maandamano tena, then we should go back to maandamano. I see my phone kama inakaribia kuzima, Mr. Jakes.
Okay. Fantastic. Ni sasa. Maybe I may ask you this. What do you see happening in 2024? Do we expect a referendum? The NADCO report itakuwa hyped again. The housing levy, of course, ndio itatutangulizia mwaka, ndio inaanza nayo Januari. But what do you make of 2024?
2024, I don't see kama referendum itafanyika because kitu ya kwanza ni kuwa Ruto believe in referendum. Ruto does not believe in referendum. Ruto ana push his way the way he wants, na hii kitu atapeleka direct kwa parliament na wataipitisha. So I don't think tutakuwa na referendum, even though baba he's crying anataka tuwe na referendum, but that referendum haitakuwa. Everything itaenda the way Ruto anataka. Is baba to come out, asimame na Azimio, asimame na kina Martha Karua, wapinge hii ukora ambayo inaendelea. Because nothing good itakama out of this guy. Huyu mtu ambaye unaona ameketi hapo huyu atapush his way in the parliament, na hiyo report haitaenda kwa nini, haitaenda kwa nini, kwa referendum.
All right, Mr. G, I choose to ask you to as well give me your closing remarks, but I'll go on kiasi and then I'll summarize after.
Okay,
what would be your closing remarks? And as well, I give you the opportunity to wish Kenyans a happy new year.
Okay, my closing remarks is that I think a time comes whereby as Kenyans we need to stand as one people. Unajua hii kitu ambayo tunakuwa nayo kuwa ati this tribalism ambayo tunakuwa nayo haiwezi tusaidia, kwa sababu Ruto anatoka kwangu mimi ama Ruto anatoka kwetu, so I'll just support him hata akiwa ana mess. I don't see the mess that he's doing, but I'll just support him because he comes from my village, he comes from my tribe. That thing is destroying our nation. Let's stand firm. If somebody destroys our nation, tumwambie he's destroying our nation. To stand against everything that is coming to destroy us. You know, kama sahi, I saw a clip juzi ambao tumeona meli mingi sana zimepangana kule Tanzania zinataka kudok. And these are the investors ambao tulikuwa nao hapa Kenya wametutoroka kwa sababu ya our policies and what we are the leader is doing, the president is doing. So hii mambo ya tribalism tunafaa tuachane nayo. If somebody is messing, we should tell him to stop messing with our nation, to stop messing with our country. That is what I can say. But on the other hand, I think I'll also wish our fellow followers, our subscribers, our friends a good, Christmas shaisha, but I'll wish them a happy new year, the best one. Hoping that 2024 itakuwa so fruitful to them. So many people wamepoteza kazi, but we are hoping that 2024 God will create a situation whereby we will have some investors to come na watu watapata kazi.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. G for you, and of course is as well Mr. Kenya Rebel. But as well, I am equally joined by Ezesh Mfinyi, anasema Kenyans are a special breed. All right, Madam, okay, good year, anasema hivi, wondering whether Raila, Uhuru, and Ruto exchanged their Christmas gift. Where? Yeah, that can be interesting. I don't know. I don't know if they exchanged. You have described them as the three musketeers. I wish also as well to play another focus on 2023, but from a different channel. And ladies and gentlemen, this as well is another channel that equally focused year 2023, the year that was it a miss or a blessing? I don't know, but here is what channel 1 had to say. All right, okay, let's listen
in international relations. Kenya's commitment to environmental stewardship took center stage as the country proudly hosted the inaugural African Climate Summit. Mari Yambo takes us through some of the 2023 momentous events.
In a historic chapter for Kenya, the year 2023 marked the inaugural visit of King Charles III as the reigning British monarch. The nation buzzed with excitement and anticipation as it prepared to welcome the royals. The 4-day state visit commenced with a visit to state Nairobi.
Heading towards the end of your career, and you still worry that you've run out.
The king was accorded the ceremonial 21-gun salute by members of the Kenya Defence Forces. The royal itinerary included a visit to the Carrier Corps war graves in honor of those who died serving the Carrier Corps, a regiment whose name and legacy left a mark in Kenya after the First World War of 1914 to 1918. Known for his commitment to conservation of biodiversity and climate action, King Charles III and his entourage made their way to Mombasa, where a host of marine conservationists showcased their efforts towards protecting the coastal strip's ecosystem. At a state banquet hosted by President William Ruto, the two leaders acknowledged the painful history of the colonial era.
Your exemplary courage and readiness to shed light on uncomfortable truths that reside in the darker regions of our shared experience are also very commendable.
By addressing our history with honesty and openness, we can perhaps demonstrate the strength of our friendship today,
while also committing to deepening diplomatic ties between the two countries.
We both take considerable pride in renewing the ties between the United Kingdom and Kenya, a country that has long held such special meaning for my family. Najisikia kama niko nyumbani.
As the year unfolded, Kenya led the continent in the ongoing climate change conversations by hosting the inaugural Africa Climate Summit in Nairobi. Among demands by the delegates at the summit were commitments to the principles of climate justice, human rights, gender equality, and intergenerational equity in all climate policies and actions.
Africa is a renewable energy and natural capital superpower, but it has not engaged the world and the climate crisis in a climate positive green growth agenda. And it is now time for Africa to take a new position, a progressive and a positive position.
Kenya's commitment to sustainability took center stage as President William Ruto read out the Nairobi Declaration, setting a precedent for eco-conscious initiatives across the continent.
Let the declaration of our commitment to act in unison and deliver our aspirations go forth in the firm, clear voice of a united Africa from Nairobi today.
The Middle East featured prominently in Kenya's diplomatic engagements. The visit of the Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi not only bolstered ties, but also opened avenues for collaborative efforts in various spheres.
That include education, scholarship, infrastructure, health, water, fisheries, agriculture and housing, urban and metropolitan development, among other areas.
This country, it boasts great capacities, and we also share great capacities in our country. Exchanges of such capacities could contribute to enhancement of bilateral relations.
Kenya's global reach expanded further with the meeting of minds as President Joko Widodo of Indonesia made his inaugural visit to Nairobi and Africa, as Kenya and Indonesia sought to foster partnership, particularly in the manufacture of pharmaceuticals and vaccines.
I hope that this cooperation can be expanded to medicinal products and other pharmaceutical items. Fourth, I have also conveyed Indonesia's commitment through Indonesian aid for Kenya in the fields of healthcare, food security, and disaster management.
President William Ruto singled out livestock and all sectors as areas of mutual interest. To bolster the relations, Kenya waived visa requirements for Indonesian citizens.
We have taken the decision to extend the visa-free entry not only to holders of diplomatic and service passports, but to all holders of Indonesian passports. So our friends from Indonesia can now come to Kenya visa-free.
President Ruto has also hosted his Angolan counterpart, President João Lourenço, seeking closer relations with the Southern African nation. Angola's president committed to implement agreements signed between Nairobi and Luanda for the mutual benefit of the two countries.
For all those years, we've been waiting up until we had the opportunity of signing this big number of cooperation instruments of which we are going to do our utmost in order to implement them for the interest of the two peoples and the nations.
Escalating our trade numbers. Our brothers and sisters in Angola, after the signing of the instrument today, all of them, with all passports, will now need no visa to come to Kenya.
Italy's President Sergio Mattarella added a European touch to Kenya's diplomatic calendar. Bilateral agreement included collaboration in, among others, the health sector and political consultations.
Our two countries shall cooperate in the fields of health towards the realization of universal health coverage and improved pharmaceutical production.
We very much appreciated the crucial role played by you, Mr. President, your government, the role that Kenya as a whole has played in Ethiopia, so we could solve the dramatic confrontation between the Ethiopian government and the Tigray region.
Diplomatic dance continued as Kenya welcomed the Prime Minister of the Czech Republic, emphasizing the significance of international cooperation and shared values.
The economic partnership agreement that now has been concluded, and we will be signing it off on the 17th of December, that affords Kenya, first country in our region, to get quota-free, duty-free access to the European market.
IT technologies and space research is also very promising area. Our high-tech companies already work with Kenyan partners on development of small satellites.
Another significant visit was by the Romanian president, cementing Kenya's position as a key player in global affairs, including climate action and trade.
I requested His Excellency the President to join me in advocating for climate action and calling upon developed nations to work with us. And I have requested him directly to support the Nairobi Leaders Declaration.
I've expressed my appreciation for the role of leader undertaken by President Ruto and Kenya in the efficient management and fighting climate change. And we've agreed that our administrations cooperate tighter in this respect.
As the year concluded, Kenya stood at the intersection of diverse diplomatic endeavors, leaving an indelible mark on the international stage and reinforcing its commitment to fostering positive relationships across continents. Maria Ambo reporting for the Spotlight.
All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that was basically what happened in 2023. The president traveled around, and equally people came to our country, presidents, heads of states, prime ministers, vice presidents, leaders in different dockets in different countries came to our country. Of course, we had nice exchanges. We had nice diplomatic relationship. Of course, pia kulikuwa na sometimes that our neighbors walitukejeli. You remember one time juzi tu Samia Suluhu said that kwa jirani hakuna unga na kuna giza na anaongea tu Kiingereza. Among many fun comments that came through in the year 2023. So it was an interesting year where we saw ourselves at times pick arguments with other countries near home, like Uganda, Tanzania, and of course sometimes Rwanda, because of how some cabinet ministers would utter funny sentiments that rubbed these countries wrongly. We also had the former tourism minister say that something funny about Canada, and then a few days later, or rather actually almost immediately, Canada refuted those claims. So it was an interesting year. We look forward to another interesting year come 2024. It will be marked with so many things, including the contentious issues, that is the housing levy. What will happen to the NADCO report? That's something we ought to look out to come 2024. What will happen to Azimio, right? There is some noise here and there. What will happen to it? What will be the fate of Jubilee come 2024? What will be Kenya Kwanza come 2024? Will the president's performance increase or deteriorate even as we march to next year, which is just in a couple of days? Actually, now, one day from now, if you're in Kenya, because today is the 30th of December, all right? So 2023 has been an interesting year. Yeah, we have seen so many ups and downs. The cost of living has been an interesting discussion this year. Mandamano were strong this year. Many lost their lives because of the same. Yeah, but unfortunately, we have never asked for their justice. We have never asked for those who took their lives to face the full wrath of the law. That hasn't happened. Maybe 2024 will be a year where we see justice for victims who have fallen because of such. This year we equally have seen very huge news making headlines, like for example the oil scandal. We have seen as well the maize scandal. We have seen the the oil scandal iko in two forms. Kukona the edible oil scandal na kukona the fuel scandal, where Anne Jerry came into the clear fold, and Kenyans were treated to nice drama, yeah, of a lady who owned over 20, not 20, 17 billion. Yeah, so that is something we looked into. And Matukio 2023 has been an interesting twist of events. And ladies and gentlemen, even as we march to 2024, I can guarantee it that we should expect, anticipate, and even hold back and enjoy the events unfold in 2024. We begin with the release of this year's KCSE. Yeah, to what my idea before Christmas, Wakapush. I think it's because of the blunder that happened during the release of KCPE. So January tunaanza na mambo. Yeah, tunaanza na release of the KCSE. Yeah, so KCSE inakuwa released next year. So I hope haitakuwa na blunders just like the KCPE had. The KCSE itakuwa interesting. So to the Form 4s who did the exams, the wait continues. I hope it will be worth it and you will truly get what you deserve. All right. So it was a year that we saw the end of KCPE, and now CBC takes full effect from here onwards. Okay, so it has been an interesting year, and we look forward to another year 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, this equally has been the year that you have seen these debates come to you live every time inapofika saa 4 jioni masaa ya Kenya. This show has been coming to you. Of course, now we are at Africa 2020, Africa 24. Where so you can be sure to tune in next year 2024 to Africa 24. I think that's what I wanted to say. All right, so 2024 will cover most and all the events taking place. We want to see now come January, yeah, will parents afford school fees? Capitation has been a big issue, and we wait to see what happens in less than 10 days from today, when children, I think from the 8th, open schools, or rather they resume their studies in all levels, apart from junior sec ambao watafungua, I think date 15, those joining form 1 and those joining grade 7, I think wanafungua hapo at date 15 thereabout. But it will be interesting to see what parents will be doing, if what afford. I am hoping they didn't spend so much during the festivities, that they always spare something for the new year. The other thing that I'm sure will happen next year, we will see so many things in as far as the economy is concerned. This year, as you have heard, our shilling has not done so well. Our shilling has been shilling, ladies and gentlemen, has not been in its best performance. We have had a serious drop in as far as our shilling is concerned. Maybe I can play that one even as I come to wrap up. This is what our shilling behaved like this year, or rather towards the end of this year. We used to brag of how our shilling performs, especially against Uganda and Tanzania. But this year alone, these two currencies have seemingly performed well. Now listen to this, ladies and gentlemen.
A report that indicates that the Kenyan shilling has depreciated against all major international trading currencies. So according to KNBS, the Kenya shilling ceded ground against the euro, pound sterling, US dollar, and Japanese yen by 30.3%, 29.7%, and 20.6% and 15.3% respectively. So the Kenya shilling also notably depreciated against the South African rand, Tanzanian shilling, and the Ugandan shilling. The report further notes that inflation eased from an average of 8.67% recorded in the third quarter of 2022 to 6.93% in the quarter under review. Now, the country's real gross domestic product, that's a GDP, grew by 5.9% in the third quarter of 2023. The KNBS report notes that the growth in GDP was mainly supported by a rebound in agricultural activities that had contracted in 2022.
All right, so that is how the Kenya shilling performed. I hope next year we'll have serious fight against corruption. If what happened this year is anything to go by, you see the Kenya shilling, as much as it's doing bad, what we still have has been imekuwa ikiingia kwa mifuko ya watu tu na njia visivyo. Of course, I'm talking about graft, right? That in 2023 we saw the grand collapse of the Kimwarel and Arol case. All right, so I hope 2023 tutakuwa na kesi ambazo zitafika kikomo na zifike kikomo na njia nzuri. All right, 2024 as well, tutajua mbivu na mbichi in as far as some cases are concerned. I'm sure Shakahola case itaendelea. Some victims or some members are still claiming that bado hawajaweza kuzika wapendwa wao. So let's wait and see what happens on that Shakahola matter. Well, also some interesting news. Joey and Maribe, you remember them? Joey and Jackie Maribe will be knowing their fate January. So it is an interesting year. Ikona vitu back to back. So stick around. You don't want to miss anything in Kenya. Kenya is a stage where things are acted daily. It's a scene. It's a scene of different forms of drama and content after content. You thought Akina Crazy Kenna, Akina Abel Motua, Akina Njugush, and the likes have given you enough content? No, they haven't. There is quite a lot coming your way in 2024 in as far as politics is concerned and everything that makes Kenya a beautiful place to be in. One moment Kenya makes you laugh, the other moment it makes you angry, the other moment you feel sad, but all in all, only in Kenya. Let me play you this song. It's a patriotic one, just even as I wrap up, and then I'll come in and just bid you bye-byes, and we call it a show. This is the second last show, even as we prepare to join us this and many other shows that will be happening in 2024. So listening to this song is from the presidential unit of music, and it's a good one. It's a good one. It's an all-time favorite. So listen in even as I near wrapping up.
Tunasonga mbele watu wote wa Jamhuri Kenya yetu. Tunasonga mbele watu wote wa Jamhuri Kenya yetu. Haya sisi sote wananchi tushangilie. Eko Jamhuri, eko Jamhuri, eko Jamhuri Kenya yetu yaenda mbele. Eko Jamhuri, eko Jamhuri, eko Jamhuri. Mwaka wa 60 umefika. sisi sote wananchi tushangilie.
all right. And that remains our song throughout this year. And of course, even as we wait for next year in just a couple of hours, we know that Kenya ni nchi yetu and we love it. That's why we do such shows and we shall do even more. All right. Now, I came back to say the following. Number one, please kindly consider subscribing to Afric24. Follow us on all our social media handles. We are now on Twitter. We are now formerly is it? It's X, formerly Twitter. Okay. All right. Follow us on Twitter and then as well equally follow us on TikTok. Huko tunafanya mambo, yeah. Follow us there. Soon we are really working very hard to put all our house in order. Soon we'll be on Instagram and as well on Telegram. So this show will be aired in many other places, and equally you can follow more content for happening here on Afric 24. But equally, ladies and gentlemen, consider subscribing to Afric 24. Don't just watch us. Do us that one great gesture of subscribing. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Follow us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on TikTok, and on all other platforms. We shall be letting you know how you do that. Equally, we choose to wish you a very prosperous, remarkable, fantastic year 2024. May the good God go before you, opening all your doors, doing you good. Yeah, just like He has seen you this far, He will see you through 2024. Your year 2024 shall be better. All right. We still hold on to hope, knowing that very well that He who has not let you fall, despite the challenges, you haven't fallen. You haven't. You're not yet crushed, despite the many issues happening around. You are not yet crushed. You have not been consumed by your situation. So this is what we believe, that your 2024 equally will be a good year for you. That God will see you through. He'll protect you. He'll bless your land, your food, your air, your health, and He will give you the very best in as far as 2024 is concerned. This is our prayer, even as Afric family, that we shall see you in one perfect peace, that you shall drive safely back home, those who are still enjoying their festivities, and those who are in different parts of the world, that you will take care of your beautiful self, and that God will also take care of you. May His angels watch over you. May He protect you in your going in and in your coming out. This has been Afric 24. It has been a good year. I'm sure we'll have maybe the last show to wrap up this year. But even as we await for next year, we know that we shall give you content after content. You have loved us and we have loved you back, and we desire and aspire to give you the very, very best. This has been your moderator. You have come to like and enjoy his content, none other than Jake, the moderator. Of course, with the able help of Akina Leo, Akina Mr. G, Akina Mburu, Akina Mzalendo, Mtembei himself, and many who have helped Africa be what it is today. Thank you very much, you guys. I equally wish you a fantastic year 2024. May the sun be kind to you 2024, and may the seasons, the 4 seasons of the year, may it bring good foldings your way. All right. May your name, ladies and gentlemen, all your names, may they be mentioned in good places. Kama kuna a good deal happening somewhere, may people remember your name, and may you be mentioned in such places. I wish you the very, very, very best. I wish my beloved country the very best. To all our leaders, I wish you the best. May you lead our country with all that God will bless you with. Yeah, with just, okay, and shun corruption and give us development. That's what mwananchi wants, nothing much. Fanya job, right? Fanya job ambayo uliitwa kufanya. Fanya job yako kwa uadilifu, and I'm sure good works will not go unrewarded. Allow me to conclude with this song, and then I wish to see you tomorrow, Sunday, I think, the last, no, Saturday, right? Saturday today, and then maybe see if we'll have a last show on Sunday. But above all, thank you very much for tuning in to Africa 24 and making it your number one social media channel in as far as such content is concerned. If you're looking for such content, please consider to subscribe to Africa 24, and we guarantee it that you shall enjoy this and very much more. God bless you. See you when you see me, okay? Goodbye. God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye.
There can only be one champion, and it is Kenya.
Moja ni fahari yetu, undugu ndio nguvu, chuki na ukabila hatutaki hata kamwe. Lazima tuungane, tuijenge nchi yetu, pasiwe hata mmoja anayetenganisha. Naishi na tumaini, najitolea daima Kenya. Hakika ya bendera ni udhabiti wangu, nyeusi ya wananchi na nyekundu ni ya damu, kijani ni ya ardhi, nyeupe ya amani. Daima mimi Kenya, mwananchi mzalendo. Kwa machungu na mateso, kwa vilio na huzuni, tulinyakuliwa uhuru na mashujaa wa zamani. Hawakushtushwa na risasi au kufungwa gerezani, nia yao ukombozi, kuvunja pingu za ukoloni. Naishi na tumaini, najitolea daima Kenya. Hakika ya bendera ni udhabiti wangu, nyeusi ya wananchi na nyekundu ni ya damu, kijani ni ya ardhi, nyeupe ya amani. Daima mimi Kenya, mwananchi mzalendo. Wajibu wetu ni kuishi kwa upendo, kutoka ziwa mpaka pwani, kaskazini na kusini. Naishi na tumaini, najitolea daima Kenya. Hakika ya bendera ni udhabiti wangu, nyeusi ya wananchi na nyekundu ni ya damu, kijani ni ya ardhi, nyeupe ya amani. Daima mimi Kenya, mwananchi mzalendo.